So what do you guys want to get out of this class? Just throw out some ideas of what you want to get out of here. What you're hoping for. A better plan. Efficiency. Is that with finances or with real estate in general? Okay.
How to control my money.
Say that again.
Control my money.
Control your money.
How to do P&L better.
How to what?
How to do P&L better.
How to do a P&L better. Anything else?
I don't know how close we are to our exit.
Not sure that'll go in. This class will go into that, but if you're not watching your money, you'll never have an exit plan. What's most people's exit plan out of real estate?
Where they die.
That or Social Security. Or they're just too old to sell houses anymore. Anything else? Before we get started, I want to thank Debbie. Debbie, come in here. Come in here. Debbie McNeil from Caliber Home Loans. She sponsored the lunch today. So let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you, Debbie. She's right downstairs if you need someone pre-qualified or need any questions on loans.
Right next to John.
Yep. Okay, so Chris, can you go to slide number, let's see what slide 2 is first. Go to slide 3. Okay, so a financially sound business. So the idea here is to set a profit goal that funds your big life and purpose and the activities to achieve it. Estimate, save for, pay your taxes on time. That's the big one for me. That's my first 7 years in real estate, I was always behind. Not fun. Not fun and not cheap to do that. The way I would do it is I would always extend. So I didn't file until August or September because that would help me save up the money. The problem was that doesn't really help you because you're still paying penalties for being late. In fact, can you go to that slide that does anyone know what the penalty is for paying late?
30%.
No, it's not. Can you slide that over? Working on it. There we go. Okay. This is straight from the IRS. Okay. Get rid of that if you can. There you go. All right. Failure to pay penalty is one half of 1% for each month or part of a month up to maximum 25% of the amount of tax that remains unpaid from the due date of the return until the tax is paid in full. The 1/2 of 1% rate increases to 1% if the tax remains unpaid 10 days after the IRS sends a, issue or what is it called? A notice of intent to levy property. They don't mess around. They'll take everything you got. So I see some mouths open. It's a big deal. You got to pay your taxes. And it can be, if they send you, I never got one of those letters of intent to levy property because I always had by the time I did my extension, I had the money. But I was always, see what was happening? I was making the money in the year that I was making money for the previous year to make sure I paid my taxes. 7 years ago. Has anyone here? I don't have to raise your hand, I guess. If you've ever had this happen to you, yeah, people are guilty of it. How did that make you feel?
Fun, because there are 2 businesses that I have to pay taxes on.
Yeah, 2 different businesses owed taxes
But
on
it
both.
helps me to push.
It made her push. So her motivation was extended way higher than normal.
That's why I say we need to learn to control or organize the money.
Yeah. So you can get rid of that. So just know that it's expensive to do that. Number 3 is use the proven models and systems of both the MREA chart of accounts and the career growth initiative, which it's not even called that anymore, but be fiscally savvy by reviewing your financials monthly, pay yourself a salary, prepare now for a financially secure future. Why do you guys think these are important habits? Why do you think these are important habits?
Don't get this under control, you'll get in trouble later.
Sell real estate forever.
Yeah,
Causes you to know your numbers, right?
causes you to know your numbers. Here's the answers that they give in the book. Most agents confuse revenue with profit. They don't save for or pay taxes on time. They don't make the use of powerful tools available to them. They don't understand their financials and they just wing it. That's probably the biggest one. Especially agents that, for me, I had pretty good success as a new agent. Got out and started selling right away, and I thought, this is easy, well, easy money. Well, the problem was I wasn't thinking about the tax side of it. And I was just winging it. They don't plan for regular monthly salary, and they're not preparing now for their financial security. So all those reasons. Let's go ahead and go to the next.
I think we hear this one all the time, confusing revenue with profit. I mean, I think everyone hears that even in outside of real estate business.
Well, let me ask the agents who have been in the business for a while. What do agents typically brag about? GCI
Volume.
and volume. Those are the two things. I did 100 million last year. Okay, cool. You make any money? And half the time they don't even know. I think so. Right? So, I mean, GCI is nothing to brag about unless you know what your net is, right? So hopefully we'll get there and you'll be able to figure that out from this class. Next slide, please. You have to use that. And good thing we got a young tech guy in charge over here.
Did a great job.
There we go. So this is an unsound financial health. What does it do? It inhibits opportunity and growth, reduces your effectiveness, it saps time, creates unneeded stress, and it can be expensive. There's nothing more stressful than own the IRS money and not sure how. Problem with it is that you're working in the year that you're making money for the prior year. So you're way behind because whatever you make that year, you got to pay that too. So it's basically double. Next slide, please. So a sound financial health would be worry and stress free. It allows you to take advantage of opportunity, frees you up to do more, makes your money work for you, and prepares you for challenging times. One of the, back on the last page that we were just on, the financially sound business, one of the things that people don't tend to do is set up an emergency fund. The emergency fund is part of the problem when you're a real estate agent. If you don't have an emergency fund, what happens? You need the money, where are you going to get it? A check or a loan, you're going to borrow it, or you're going to take it from your savings that are what? For what?
Taxes.
Taxes, yes. And there's the problem right there. And I was raising a family. I had 2 kids, and the third one came 3 years later than that. 3 years after I was in the business. Yeah. So 3 kids. Pam didn't work back then because it didn't make sense with 3 kids. They were all small. So it was, you had to hustle. And our average sale price was $64,000. Should have bought some of those. I didn't have any money to buy. I owed the IRS money instead. Okay, next slide, please. By the way, guys, this is supposed to be a 4.5-hour class with a 15-minute break. We're going to do it in 4 with a 15-minute break. So I might skip through some things pretty fast. But if anybody has any question on anything, just stop me and raise your hand or shout out. Okay, so what I want you to do is read through these 2 scenarios on this page, page 4 for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, read through those 2 scenarios, study the graphs, and then discuss. Well, just read through them, then we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
I think I know why. We'll hold on to that for a minute. Just do the first one, number one, because that's the slide that we're on. I'm gonna pick on you because you're up here. And you laughed. I think I know why you're laughing. Are you laughing because that's how you
That's what
started?
I was doing, yeah.
Okay, I'm guilty of that too.
Who started that way?
It's okay, Mary Kay. I expect you to raise your hand. I would say we all did because most of us didn't have anyone telling us what we should be doing this month. I mean, I knew I owed taxes on it, but I didn't think it would be as much as I owe. So, and I needed the money because I had babies and kids and wives and wife.
Wife.
Just one. But that is typically how an agent starts out, just like that. So if you go to the next slide and then read that paragraph. Does this seem kind of confusing for people? Some are shaking their heads, some are going, I don't know, it seems like a lot. So let's just walk through it. So she receives a check in the amount of $57.60, which is after she paid the broker, deposit it in her business bank account to cover business expenses. She pays herself a salary of $4,032 up there. That's her personal bank account. 40% of that she's saving into her, for 40% for taxes and your personal lifestyle. It's important to know the difference between income and profit. So she's got 60% going into her wallet, 40% tax savings and self-employment tax. I'm here to tell you that 40% is too high. You don't need to save that much. And I'm going to say that all depends on how much business you do. So if you're making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, then you're probably going to need 35 to 40%. But if it's under that, 30% should be sufficient. You all know how taxes work in this country. They're a progressive thing. They go up as you make money. The more you make, the more you're going to spend. Up to the max is 37% right now. They're working on making that higher. So I actually should have pulled up a tax. It starts off at 10%. It's not very expensive, but then it gets up there, 37% once you're over a certain level. Yes.
So if you're paying yourself a salary though, it's based off of that salary, isn't it? So even if I made $500,000.
Great question. Great question.
Okay, even if I make a salary, I'm making $500,000 that year. I put all that money in my business account, my LLC. Then my CPA tells me this is what your salary is, and I make it quarterly to myself. Then am I still taxed? I'm still taxed 30%, right? Even though.
No. Okay. And here's why. Because if she only pays, are you paying yourself the whole $500,000 that you're making?
No, I'm putting $500,000 in my business account.
Okay. And you're paying yourself.
And then I'm taking a salary. I did $100,000.
$100,000. So she paid taxes on the 100. What happened to the 400? She doesn't pay taxes.
Yeah, I changed it.
It's probably, my guess is you have an S corp, which means it's a flow through corporation, which means you're paying personal income tax on that 400,000 extra. So either way, you're paying the taxes. What your CPA might be doing is saying, pay yourself 100,000, but your net's only going to be 2,000 a month because all the rest is going to taxes. He might be overcompensating on the tax side to make sure you don't owe tax on the rest. So you're not getting out of the taxes. Let's just put it that way. She could up her salary, which would help, but she's still paying. So who's paying those taxes? They're coming out of the business account. You're still paying them. No matter what you pay, you could pay yourself, 450,000, use the rest for business, and it's still going to owe the tax.
But it's less, isn't it, if it's sitting in my business?
The difference is you don't have the self-employment tax, but you're still paying it because your company's paying it. But there is some benefit to doing it that way. And you'd have to talk to your CPA about what that is. For one thing, you could have a bigger IRA, SEP IRA that you could fund. There's a lot of different things you could do with a bigger salary. Up to a certain level. Once you get past a certain level, then it's probably not worth it. Okay, we are on slide 8. What are your ahas from this last slide that we just had? Yes.
I think I have more that sit in my bank account. I put less to my personal. Like I have everything go through the bank account more.
When you say the bank account, you talk about your
My
business.
business account, sorry, my business bank account. When it said that the 60% paying yourself, I think I flipped that. I did 30% to myself and 60% stays in the business.
Is that a bad thing?
No, but
You now have a huge emergency fund in your business account, right? Do you have anybody that works for you?
yes.
An assistant,
Yeah.
just started.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Okay, so her having extra money in a business account, probably a good thing, especially when you're taking on someone else. Now you're responsible for their family. Don't take hiring somebody lightly because it means you are now responsible for them too.
I think we'll get into this later, but do you have a rule of thumb for how big your emergency account should be?
I do, for me anyway. I mean, I like to see 6 months, but that's a big amount. So if you had 3 to 6 months in your personal savings of living expense. Okay, so let's say your living expenses are, I'll use 10,000 because it's easy. $10,000, you would need 30 to 60,000 in your personal account just to feel like, okay, no matter what comes up, the car could blow up, doesn't matter, I'll be fine. We have money. Even if a check doesn't come in for 2 or 3 months, I'm still okay. But hopefully you don't go 2 or 3 months without a check because that's not fun either.
Yeah, emergency funds just sitting in your savings.
Sitting,
account.
it's liquid. It's totally liquid. Yep.
That's separate from your tax savings.
Separate from your tax saving and separate from your business account. So your business account should have 3 to 6 months as well. So if you don't have that, that'd be a great thing to get started with. Do you know what your business needs to run? Do you know how much money you spend each month? Some of you are shaking your heads. I would say that most of you probably have a pretty good idea, but don't have the exact number. And that's where the profit and loss statement would come in and you'd know exactly what you needed every month.
Okay. Any other ahas in that first section?
So with your business savings, does that also include salaries for the employees? Or is it just the expenses?
You want, well, your salaries are your expenses.
So I just wanted to.
Yeah. So
See,
it's your,
sometimes that's not, people don't think.
oh man, it better be, because otherwise you don't make sales and then all of a sudden you've got 3 people to pay and then what? So you include everything.
Sorry.
I was just thinking to answer that question, why not include your own salary if you have several months of personal
True.
savings?
You could cut your own salary.
But team salaries.
But your wife's not going to be happy. She's going to get nervous. Nobody's going to be happy at that stage. But what happens when you get nervous?
No, you work to work. Yeah.
You did it. You
Push yourself.
you push yourself and get out and get going because you need it. No other way just to sell homes. That's right. Okay. So your numbers tell a story. What's your numbers tell you about you? Everyone's being quiet because it happens every time. Most of you don't know what your numbers are. Some do, but a lot of you don't. And if you're brand new, I don't expect you to know what your numbers are. You know what it takes. You know what the MLS dues are. You know what the Board of Realtor dues are. You know what the office fees are, and that's about it. Now it's just get to work and get some deals going, because that's what it's going to take to keep you going. We are on slide 9. What is that one? That's slide 9. Okay. You've got to be able to keep score if you want to know where you're at. Most people keep score with what's in their account. That's not a way to keep score, although that's important to know too. Go ahead, Chris, next one. So your numbers, your success. So these are the things that you want to track. Your gross commission income, your volume, which remember they're the two ones that everyone brags about. Your units closed, that's the third thing that people brag about. Net income profit, money in the bank, multi-year trends report, and language of real estate report. All these things Keller tracks for you, but you've got to get deals going, except for the net income. You have to do that yourself. All these will be tracked for you. Not money in the bank either. We don't track that. So
there's just a note here. It says an agent can have an impressive volume or number of units, and this doesn't necessarily translate to profit. 99% of all agents keep score with the top 3 on their list. Top producers keep score with net income or profit.
And it says circle net profit, because that's really the one that matters.
Does anyone track all these right now? This brings me up to something kind of new in my life. I just got a tonal. Has anyone ever seen that? A smart gym. What's really amazing about it is the metrics. The metrics, they track everything. Amount of weight lifted per workout, time under tension, the speed at which you're doing reps, and it knows when you're starting to slow down, so whether it needs to increase or decrease weight. It's amazing how much you can gain so much quicker because it knows when it needs to increase the weight. It knows when it needs to slow some things down.
So what you focus on
expands. But the tracking on something like that is really, to me, it opened my eyes a little bit just this last week.
That's all business is. If you know the numbers, that's all it is. Okay. Move on to slide 11, Chris. Oh, one more, please. Do you guys agree that the goal of your business is profit? Please say yes. If you don't say yes, where are you going to learn that today? That's important. Think of it this way. A coach once told me this, because I'm a terrible artist, but if this was a boat and you're in the boat, I don't know what, I'll be a stick figure. I'm in the boat. And I'm worried about me more than I am about the business. If the business sinks, what happens? I'm going down with it. That's how important that is. That's your business. Think of it as a separate entity. It's not you, it's your business. Hopefully that'll make it simple to remember that business is that important. It's more important than your own personal finances, because without the business, unless you have other businesses or other income, you've got nothing. So profit fuels hopes and dreams. What dreams do you fulfill with yours? So this talks about provide for your family, reward yourself when you achieve a goal. Have you done anything to reward yourself for achieving a goal?
Me?
Yeah.
Not lately, but I used to before kids. So.
John can understand. How many kids do you have, John?
12.
What?
We have 12.
12. You thought it would be cheaper by the dozen? It's not.
But we used to, I mean, last year we bought two cars, and they were basically dream cars. They were both paid off.
Why'd you pay them off?
Because I could. I didn't have necessarily any other option at the time, any other opportunity to take that money to do something.
Has anyone drilled into your head you don't want debt in this business?
Yeah, constantly.
Just wondering.
And I have about a year and a half of emergency expenses in my business. So
Is there anything wrong with that?
nope.
No, because what does it do? What happens if let's say the market's all of a sudden just really slows down. And all of a sudden you start seeing houses that were 500 are now down to 300. We've seen it happen in 08. Could you pick up a couple of them probably?
Investment.
It's kind of like when you see the stock, people in the stock exchange, and you're like, buy, right? And that's just like, yeah, buy. For real.
Well, actually, I do the opposite. I wait for all of them to start panicking and selling. That's when you buy.
Well, that's what I mean, when you see
Yeah.
them come down from 500 to 300, you're like, buy.
Yep. So you can invest in your business with people, equipment, tools, workspace. Doing a client appreciation event, you've done a few of those. You could buy investment properties, build your reserve up.
I did do something new last year actually with profit. This was something I've been wanting to do for 10 years. I finally put on a golf tournament in honor of my fraternity brother who took his own life. And we raised just under 12 grand. But we wanted to do it for probably 10 years. We had Debbie sponsored it. But that was something that was rewarding because I got a bunch of people from my past back together, a bunch of people from my present back together, and just did something awesome. Raised a bunch of money. I also got business out of it. So to me, it was a win-win all around.
And it was amazing. I played in that tournament, and it was amazing how many of your database were there that you didn't know had suicide touch their lives. I had they had a relative or a good friend or whatever, and they were all there to support that charity, especially, and not just because they in your database, but because they thought that was a worthy thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but if you send like a save the date out for an event to clients, sometimes you'll get a call here and there. I got calls from essentially every single person I sent. It was amazing. It's kind of really, really sad, but it was, we took that energy and made it great. And we're doubling up on it this year.
So if you want to golf in a tournament, let us know.
Look at my database first, and then we'll play.
Yeah, after if we have room for it.
Well, do we have to sign it not compete or
Yeah. You don't get to talk to anyone.
Right. Never mind.
So go ahead and next slide, please. I think these slides.
These are all things that you could do with.
Oh, got it.
They're a
So
little bit behind.
yeah, fund your big life, grow your business, invest in your future, build a legacy. Okay, this is financial fitness assessment. Well, before we go there, on your page 8, here's where you can write down what you'd like to do with your profit. And then how much will it take? And finally, what tools do we have that can help you keep your eye on that prize?
Yeah. People come and watch the finance committee, right? And put their numbers up there. and
Second
see where they
Thursday of
are.
every month, 9:30. There you go. There's a
Good
plug
luck.
for it. Come join us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's the financial committee.
Just Herdler, right? Herdler.
I think that's in here.
That's it.
Multi-year trends.
Your multi-year trends is one. That's already taken care of. So I went to tracks all for you.
401 and GPS.
411, your GPS, which some of the newbies are going, what's that? What's that? You'll learn it. Don't worry.
Just pipelining command.
Pipeline and command. How about your opportunity? Yeah, opportunities. Is that what you're talking about? Business planning clinic. This class right here. So many tools for you to learn to keep your eye on that. So
I heard someone willing to do P&L reviews with people.
that's what we're talking about at the finance committee is what we do.
That's what
If you don't have a profit and loss, if you're brand new, it's kind of hard to do it because you don't have any income yet. If you've got any sales at all, it gets easier because then you start, especially when they start coming in regularly. There's nothing worse than having a P&L and having 2 months with nothing coming in. Because then it just looks like all I'm doing is spending money. But if you have a reserve, like you're talking about, then it's okay to have those months. It just makes you get a little bit more motivated to get going.
That's on the MREA chart of accounts.
Chart of accounts to help you set up your P&L.
And the red book, the models.
Red book, the models in the red book. Yep. If anybody, never done this before, but if anybody wants to have a profit and loss, how to set up a profit and loss class, let Goldie know. We'll put something together for you. It's not that hard.
Actually, we take a quick vote on that. Would anyone be interested? Jeez.
Also, ground that could be covered.
Yes, it could. We just actually, that's something we should be talking about. Setting up a P&L. Okay. We are on page 9. Once you go through this, hit yes, no, or sometimes in each one of these. Takes about 5 minutes. Okay. How do you guys feel about this assessment? How did it make you feel? Sad. What else? Don't made you think you don't know enough. What else?
Inconsistent.
Inconsistent. No right or wrong answers. So what ahas do you have then? You could use it as a checklist. Yeah, perfect. Any others?
My aha is I sometimes avoid one of these. So it depends on when I fill this out, how it looks.
Do this. Circle one of these items that will make everything else easier. There's one thing you could do out of this list. Which one would help you to make everything else easier?
When you're talking about setting up like a separate business account, you also suggesting also separate credit cards for business.
I do.
Have separate business personal checking accounts and no credit cards, so you should have separate.
Yes. We'll probably get into that a little later. All right, so what we want you to do is on page 10. This is where you can write down what you plan to achieve from taking this course. Be specific. Is there any ahas from that, from doing that little exercise? Okay, Carmen, you're shaking your head. You don't get to shake your head and not answer.
Following the profit and loss will give us a better idea like what we're doing every month.
Yes.
So I like it when it says monthly. Because that will kind of follow up with everything else. Having the budget, knowing how much you're spending, like kind of covers everything.
About that. Anybody else? That email to Goldie. Chris sent an email to Goldie already about the profit and loss class. Tell her we want to do that pretty quickly in the next 30 days. Okay.
We're teaching a budget class. Yeah. Budget. No, it's later. It's second week. Oh, what should I be spending on my
Ooh.
What day is that?
It's the 18th
Of April?
Yep, from 1 to 2:30.
So if we could tie in a profit and loss class maybe right after that, would be good. Not the same day, but same month.
Yeah. 1 to 2:30. In this room.
So what time is it again?
1 to 2:30.
April 18th?
Yep.
What's the complicated class name?
It's what should I be spending in my real estate business? It's a budget class.
It was something about budgeting for real estate. I told her nobody would come to that. So.
And for those people on Zoom, that is April 18th 1 to 230.
Yes.
There you go.
Is there any comments or questions in Zoom?
No, and if you have any comments on the Zoom, just go ahead and say them out loud. Because I'm not checking the chat box.
Perfect.
You saw me trying to do the mouse earlier. I'm not getting into that.
45
Yeah.
You're all
Sorry.
You want to go to the next? So Napoleon Hill said, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Does that mean anything to anybody? Brings me back to when I was behind on my taxes. I'm never behind on my taxes. In fact, I make monthly, not quarterly. That's how paranoid I am about ever falling behind.
That's rubbed off on me because I do the same.
I mean, I'd rather overpay than.
But here's the other thing too. In a year where you hit your goals, you're probably already underpaying too at the same time.
If you based it on last year and your goals were higher than last year, you're right. You're going to owe more than what you thought you were going to owe.
You just do 30%.
You should be okay, but if you're making a lot of money, $500,000 or more, you probably need more.
The business is making that, like, not
Yeah.
your salary.
Yeah, but you're
Right, but you're still paid.
30% should cover you pretty well, and if it doesn't, it
Won't
means
be
you
off
need
by
a lot.
that much,
You
but
need a lot more than that. And that means you've got a lot more cash sitting around. You can pay your taxes. Okay. We're going to talk about proven KW business models. So this talks about the economic model. So income, or your GCI, is gross commission income. It's 100%. This talks about, now this is MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you don't have a big team, these numbers will not apply to you. If you're on a big team, these numbers will apply to you, but it's going to apply to the team, not necessarily to you. So their cost of sale is typically 30%, their operating expenses is 30%, and the net income or the profit to whoever owns the business is 40%. That's a big profit margin for any business, right? Who came from a different background other than real estate? Like, name a business. Where'd you come from? Construction. So do you know what a good percentage is of profit? 20%, probably a pretty good construction business. Was that a commercial or residential? Commercial. What about you? Medical, okay. We know they make 100%.
I was in grocery and it's 1 to 2%.
1 to 2%.
And when in restaurant?
So it can get there, but it's systems that are set up correctly before you can get there. It's easy for agents to focus only on this part and work on that and then just spend a bunch of money to try to make more and more commission income. In the end, they didn't make any profit. Next slide.
Dennis, I would say as a solo agent, I was probably closer to 60%.
Yep, that's probably right. And that's actually not even a high net. I've seen them as high as 82% after all their expenses, but they were a pretty high producer too, doing 400,000 a year by themselves. And newbies are going, yeah, that's what I want to do right there, right? So it can be done.
The other realization on my team too is that I was running at 67% and I have a small team. That was still, it was nice for me to know because I knew that, okay, I have room to actually dig into some things I've never actually done.
So what are some of the things you could do? Because if you're at 67% net, he's got how much left over then to spend, not dollar amount, but he's got basically 27% more he could spend money. So where would be the smartest thing for him to spend money on? Could be leverage, maybe not. No, it could be client events, getting more business going that way. I feel like you're pretty leveraged. I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty well leveraged. We hired another person, but we've added farming, and that's expensive.
farming is a passive, for new people, farming is a passive way to try to get clients to call you. And it can be more prospect based if you want to go knock on doors in a certain neighborhood. So farming is basically finding a neighborhood or a demographic, right, that you want to go after. So like he could say, well, I'm going to farm anybody that owns property that lives outside of the state, but they own property in Washington State. That might be a good farm because maybe they're getting tired of the rentals, or maybe anything could happen.
We've also added an off-market buyer program too, which costs money.
So an off-market buyer program is something where you probably send a golden letter or whatever you call it. The letter states, hey, I've got a buyer for this type of house in your neighborhood. Would you be interested in selling? That's the basics of it, right?
Yep.
And it's very specific. So they know that it's not just some form letter. It's a real letter for a real person who really wants to buy in that neighborhood. And then a seller that's serious about selling, but maybe doesn't really want to put their house on the market, might give you a call and say, hey, I think I'd like to sell, but I don't want to fix my house up or get it ready for market, right?
There's all sorts of reasons people want to put their home on the market. It's really strange to me, but yeah.
So here's the numbers of the 100%, 30%, 30%, 40%. So 10,000 in income, your net profit's 4,000. That's before taxes, by the way. You still got to pay taxes on the 4,000. Okay. So the flow of money. So income is what goes in, expenses is what goes out, and what's left over is profit. Go to next one. There it is. So they want you to kind of flip this over and go, okay, what do I want my profit to be? What's the goal? Then the next question is, how can I minimize it? Or what kind of income do I need to have in order to make that profit? And then how can I minimize my expenses to maximize my net?
And this formula is obviously way different than a lot of people. Normally, what we do is income minus expenses equals profit. So we are flipping it completely. And their questions are, how much money do I want in my bank account at the end of the year? How many homes do I need to sell to achieve my profit goal? How can I minimize my expenses to maximize my net?
I think that one of the big problems is agents will start doing well, and then I've done it myself, so I know this is true. They'll look for the golden ticket, something out there that they think is going to increase their income even more. And instead, it does. And of course, they get sold on, hey, it's just one more house you have to sell a year. Buy this program or buy this lead generation system. So be very careful of that, because that's not how you got to where you're at. Go back to the basics of how you got to where you're at. Okay, next slide. So here's we're digging deeper of what goes in.
You guys are on page 14, by the way.
Yep. So commissions earned from a closed transaction. So typically it's 3% per side, although right now it's probably 2.5% per side. And do you know why that is? Anyone give me a reason why that would be like that?
Rather underestimate.
No, it's actual 2.5% right now. The average sale commission. Discount brokers, it's they're selling so fast that it goes back, actually still goes back to the agent, giving them a discount. It's so hard to get listings right now that agents are typically doing whatever they have to do to get the listing. And so it ends up being that we end up charging the customer less so that we can get the deal done.
And builders also have a say in
And
that.
builders are just crushing it right now. If you, yeah, some are offering no commission. So commissions includes listing income, sales income, referral income, leasing income for both residential and commercial transactions. We don't get into that today, but then what goes out, which is the next slide.
Dennis, I have a question.
Yep.
So when you see that trend happening, like where they, like you got builders not offering commission, the commission drops. Once that trend drops, that's the tip of it, then, right? I mean, the norm, it becomes the norm, like anything. Once something
Becomes the norm for a while until something like 08 happens.
Right, okay.
But
But I'm saying, so
Then they start going back up because now they're like desperate. There's no buyers. Now they're like, I got to sell this house. I'm going to pay extra. I remember builders paying 4%. What's the highest you quadrant?
Well,
Yeah.
quadrant and DR. Most I saw was 5%. It was transactional, it's depending on the house.
5% for the buyer's agent, not the listing side. The listing's separate. 5%. That's a big deal. It's a huge bonus. Yes.
So I have a question. So did you guys see that that staggered commission thing that Mike sent out a while ago? And this is here are the services you get for 2.5%, 3%, and 3.5%. I'm just wondering what kind of response people have had on that. I actually really like that because you know, yeah, some houses you can't expect to sell really, really quickly, and others that need to have a lot of time and energy to get it ready, painting, carpeting, things that you're managing, you know, I feel deserving of a higher commission for that. And so I just was wondering what response other people have.
I don't know how many people are using a menu of services like that, but it's a great idea. I like the idea.
I just put one together, but I haven't used it yet. So I'm just curious.
Well, I do know this, when short sales were around, I always charged at least 3.5 on the listing side, and then another 3 for the buyer side.
And they would take months to sell.
They would take months, and they were a lot more work.
Yeah, they were a lot more. Yeah.
Yep.
My
And they,
understanding on the variable commission rate though is that the consumer will typically choose the middle option.
Yeah, I kind of figured, like anything.
Yep.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing when people are expecting 2.5%. You know, I've got to sell it right now, you know, and I'm fighting him on it right now because, you know, he expects 2.5%. And it's one of those that needs a lot of extra hand holding and work. Like, just curious.
yeah. I do know that there's agents too that we have that always get 3% no matter what, on both sides. Even if they're not the listing agent, they're still getting 3% on the buy side.
And I think that's where it comes to really articulating your value.
That's it. And it's Carla Clark. Very good. And her whole team is very good at articulating why they deserve the 3%. They explain all the things that they do. They show them value of you know, what they're going to do to make sure everything works, and it's really just justifies their income. And she's promised that she would teach on that as well. That being said, she's on vacation for the next 3 weeks. So what goes out? Cost of sale. Someone tell me what cost of sale is. Not you, Jessica. Not you, Michelle. Go ahead.
It's like what your marketing is, what your employees, what it's taking, photos, all the stuff it takes for you to get to that finish line. What is it going to cost you to get to that end?
Well, let me ask you a question. If you get a listing, do you go out and take professional photos?
Yes.
Okay. You have to pay that guy no matter what, the photographer. If the house never sells, Does the photographer still get paid?
Yes.
So that's not a cost of sale. Transaction coordinator is, because they get paid at closing. Who else gets paid at closing?
The
The
agent.
office. Well, there's an, yeah, but that's not one of your costs. It's anything that gets paid at closing. So your split gets paid at closing. You were talking down here. These are operating expenses you were talking about. Cost of sale is only gets paid when it closes. So the more things you can do that are only going to get paid when you close something, the better it is for you, because you're not spending as much in the operating side. So now let's talk about what else could be up here? Referrals? Nope. Not unless they're a buyer's agent or listing agent. You got to pay them every 2 weeks. Yep, they're operating expenses. That's okay. People get them confused all the time, but remember, this only gets paid at closing. Referral fees always get paid at closing. Doesn't close, you don't pay it.
I heard someone else say it, but home warranty, if that's something that's doing.
Home warranty that you only pay at closing? Yep. E&O insurance? Well, no. E&O gets paid monthly here. B&O. B&O gets paid there. Yeah. Okay, so then I'll name some operating expenses. What could they be? Employees, your farming, your photos, your signage, salaries, lock boxes, MLS dues.
All the dues.
All the dues.
All the dues.
Everybody's got their hand. Coaching and training.
Yeah.
Coaching and training.
Photography would be there.
Right.
Photography's there.
But also your staging, if you pay for that. Your
Events. There's plenty of ways to spend money in real estate. Remember, these ones here usually are permanent. Pay them all the time. And of course, when you have no transactions, there's no cost of sale. Problem is, you still have your operating expenses if even though they're small, you still have them. So let's go on to slide 23. What this is? Yep. So your gross commission is the amount you get paid based on the sales price of a transaction. Typically 3% for each side. It's not what you receive in your commission check. The amount you receive reflects the amount deducted to pay your broker and Keller Williams Realty. These deductions are part of your cost of sale. And so here's an example. $9,000 commission minus 30% would be, what are we looking at here? Why is it, let's say 9,000?
I think it might be.
Do we have a typo? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, just 9,000, 30% is 2,700. 6% is $540. That's your royalty. So that leaves them with the 5760, which is what we've been talking about with that first page that we started with. Here's an example. If you've already capped on royalty and not yet capped on a company dollar, your net would be 6,300 instead of 5,760. And then if you've capped on both, your net's 9,000. Unless you paid a royalty, or not a royalty, but a referral fee or something like that. Okay, operating expense. Cost of running your business. You've got rent, you've got auto, salaries for administrative manager and staff, insurance, professional services, marketing and advertising, equipment and supplies, and education. And some of those we didn't even talk about, right? Insurance, we don't think about it. Card, we don't think about it. Yet there's still something that you have to have. On the head. Oh, what's left over? Okay. So net income or profit. That's what you can grow your business with or invest in your future. In your case, also save up a huge reserve so that if the market slides, he's not going to panic. Is that a good thing? I mean, with 3 little kids at home and a wife that doesn't work, how important is that?
Always.
Huge, huge. And I would recommend everybody do it. Next.
Well, there's one little thing here that we should probably do. The name of the game is profit, and for this reason, profit is your starting number. So what is your profit goal for this year? Write it down.
And then is your profit goal big enough to fulfill your big dreams?
Everybody have a profit goal this year? Is it April yet? It's almost April.
Ooh, that's a good point. Carmen just said the first quarter's gone. Are you quarter of the way to your goal yet?
So being that the first quarter's gone, is there something that we should do as an agent?
Pay your taxes.
Well, yeah, pay your taxes for last year. Hopefully you got that money.
This quarter, you want quarter.
Well, if you didn't make any money, you won't have any taxes to pay.
My accountant is like, tomorrow is the 15th, you have to pay 25,000. I'm like, what? Tomorrow? Yeah, give me your card number. I'm like, what? Okay. She did that to me like 2 years in a row. And I'm like,
okay, so here's a good example. So her accountant calls her and says, tomorrow's the 15th, I need 25,000 for taxes. What could change from this conversation for her?
I'm gonna get a new accountant.
Well, maybe, but certainly, I don't like surprises. I don't like surprises. I want 2,500 taken out of every month.
Right.
Now I've got the 25. Actually, I got 30,000.
yeah, now we do it.
Now you do it every month.
Part of it's on us too, right? Because sometimes your accountant may not be looking at what you're actually bringing in either. So I owe we're estimating I owe another 35,000, right? And that was more on me actually than it was my accountant because I didn't really update it and say, hey,
She lets me know
making
when
a lot more money than
I see your income is more this month. We're gonna put more money.
How does she know your income is more this month?
She does everything. She does the payroll. She
Does your payroll? Does she do a profit and loss for you? Okay.
but not monthly. So now I will request monthly.
So you hear that? She doesn't get her P&L monthly, but now she's going to start requesting it monthly so she can see where she's at. Whoever your accountant is, it's important that they understand your business, number one. Number two, they need to know where you are at all times. Because the other ones that are estimating your taxes and going, hey, so mine actually has access to my account. He knows exactly what's in my business account. So he can, and he just tells me, hey, I'm going to take whatever. What's that?
They give you profit and loss quarter.
Well, that's fine, but then you can only adjust every quarter.
Okay.
If you get it monthly, you can adjust monthly.
Okay.
And plus, if you didn't sell something in a month and you still get a P&L that shows that you're spending money, you're going to get your butt moving. Right?
Say also looking at your P&L, it gives you the ability to find an opportunity too.
Yep.
You didn't spend as much.
Maybe you're not spending enough on lead generation. Maybe it's time to start doing something a little more proactive in that category. And you're wondering, well, how would you know? Well, you know because MREA is a chart of accounts that tells you percentages of how much you should be spending on different categories. It's not. It's a book.
Oh,
it's a real book. But QuickBooks is a perfect spot to start because that can track your P&L for you. And if you don't have a lot of money to spend, you can set it up yourself if you know how to use QuickBooks, right? Eventually, you're going to want to make sure you're doing it right, though. So make sure you take it to an accountant. So it is important to begin with the end in mind when you're doing this. What do I really want to make this year? How many deals is that going to take based on 2.5% commission? Our average sale price right now is what, $525? Does anyone have a calculator?
Yeah.
What's 2.5% of 525? 12,000. $13,125. Man, my average sale price was $64,000 when I started. What a difference. But you can also see the importance of making sure you're covering all your expenses as you go instead of falling behind. Okay, let's go to page 17. Let's use a net profit goal of $250,000. We're going to run through this because this is MREA, so it means you've got a huge business. You're doing $2.5 million in GCI every year. So this will be a little bit different than what your actuals are right now. So if you have a calculator, you need to divide your net profit goal by 60%. What do you come up with? That's right.
You divide that by 40%.
Divided by 60%. That's $416,666.
Based on what amount?
Based on a net profit goal of 250. Sorry. Yeah. So basically what they're saying there is in order for you to net 250, you need to make 416, assuming that you have 30% cost of sale and 30% operating expenses. But here they're talking about gross profit goal and then gross commission income. There's two different things here. So if you take your gross profit goal of 416,666, divide that goal by 40%, comes out with $1,041,000. What they're doing in this exercise is taking out your taxes for you. So this is a net profit goal after taxes. So now let's do, what did we say our average commission was?
13,125.
This doesn't have that. This has an average commission. 7,500. So we're almost double that, but use 7,500. And what does that equal? Yeah, you're going to divide your gross commission income by average commission income. Yep. It's actually 130.
Sorry.
139.
Guess I'll have that.
No, 139 is the units sold. Yeah. These numbers are goofy because our numbers are way bigger than that. But we'll just use this because at least you'll understand how this works. So 30% of your GCI goes to your cost of sale. 30% goes to your, well, actually this is royalty and company dollar cap of 23,000. Your operating expenses, 312,500. So what's the total? Doesn't have a total. Well, it's 250. It's 250 net. It's 416. It's 416 and 250 net. So that takes out your taxes for you. Yep.
So if you're a solo agent, and we're going back up to the top of the gross profit goal, let's say, I think someone saying like make 75% or 80% instead of 60, then that's considerably less. And then if you're only putting 30% away for taxes.
Well, this first one has to do with taxes.
That one does?
Yeah, so the first one has to do with taxes. I was on the wrong track. So what you would do is you, instead of 60, you'd do 70.
Okay. And then that stays as 40, the gross profit by 40%.
Yeah, well, that's
Would that be 30?
hold on. Oh, they're talking about your net. So no, you're going to have a higher net than 40%. We just talked about that. He was
Right.
Troy, you were how much? 65, 70%? 70%. I've had agents as high as 82%.
Right. So that's the first or second line. So what about the divide by gross profit by, is that the difference? You see what I'm saying? No?
So no, it's okay. It's okay. This is confusing because the 40% is what it would be if you were only netting 40%. Right. So so if you're netting 70%, divide this number by 70%, and it's a way less number.
So you want to go 250 divided by 70%.
Correct.
And then take that.
So let's do that. Let's do that for you. Let's say if you wanted to net 250, divide the net by 70%. What's your number?
357,442.
So it's 357 here. Then you take your 357, divide that by, what did we decide, 70%?
30.
30%, because that's right.
So 1.19.
No, it's 70. Do it by 70.
Oh, by 70.
Yeah, because we're talking about this is how much your net is.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
What's the number?
510,000.
So 510,000 is what you'd have to make to net your 250 after
That makes more
taxes.
sense for like solo.
Yep.
Then if you really want to get into the numbers.
Then do your real. Let's keep doing it. 521.
Divided by 13,125 is 38. 39 units.
39. Oh, let's just get rid of this 100.
Yeah.
Just do 39.
Right.
Net the same amount.
To make the 250.
Well, and then at that too, your anticipated cost of sale and operating expenses are going to be way less.
Yeah, you're not going to have 30% on.
Well, we already accounted for that.
Oh, solo right here. You just have your 20, 23 or 24.
So that's you.
Plus a TC.
That probably confused a lot of people. It's just a little math. So next page, let's list at least one action item you will take as a result of what you've learned in this chapter.
Going back to that last slide,
Yeah.
you said pleasant PC, but that kind of made it sound like pleasant a lot. But if you're talking 375 on 139 transactions, that's $50,000. So you're adding on to that cap.
That's correct. She only needs 30 minutes.
Oh, got it. I just wanted to make sure that anybody who hadn't seen those numbers before was connecting the TC number to.
Yeah, we were basing it on 39 because her anticipated cost of sales is going to be cap plus TC at 39.
39 units times.
It's still something else. So what's 39 times 375?
It was $52,000. Oh, sorry.
No, 39.
39. Okay.
It's 14,600.
So 14 grand, that's one more sale. So really you need 40 sales. And that 250 in your pocket after taxes. Does that clear it up a little bit? I go through with anybody on these numbers anytime they want to understand those better. So funny they do these, but this was done in 2019. I think they were using a national average of home sales commissions. So we're lucky to be in a higher end area. On one hand, the other hand, we're not so lucky. Okay, let's move on to the next chapter. Strengthening your business. Next slide, please. All right, this is your financial team. Accountant, bookkeeper, CPA, tax advisor, banker, attorney, insurance agent, financial planner. Does anyone have all of those? Of course you do, Jessica. Which one of those do you think are the most important? You can start with. You can start with. I think bookkeeper is cheaper than a CPA. They can get your numbers up and running for you as far as your business goes. But this will become important when you file your taxes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Do we need a separate attorney? Don't we have attorneys, all of us? Because we were to get in trouble. I mean, that's
well, we have E&O insurance. Right. We have E&O insurance, and what happens is that's a $5,000 deductible that the agent pays if they get in trouble. That's the max you'll pay. We hate using it because in fact, just last year our E&O insurance went from $36,000 a year to $74,000 a year. Yeah, which we'll be talking about that in the financial planning. Yeah, it's something we have to address because we've never seen it do that. It did it in every single location too. So either we're getting sued more, or which I don't think that's the case. I think it's just the insurance companies are costing that much more.
You might need to turn your review your
Yep. Yep. Actually, you need an attorney. You should have an attorney to set up your operating account for your business. If you have a business, you talked about setting up a business account. Yeah, you do. What's the name of your company? Your business name? Sands Castle. Okay. What's yours, Jessica? Ideal Puget Sound Home. So you've got a separate, remember the boat? I erased the boat. Remember the boat?
Yep.
That's your boat, right? You got to make sure the boat stays afloat or you're going down.
And you know, everybody should, anybody can get hit by a bus anytime. You should have your estate set up, your wills, your power of attorney, just because everybody.
I agree. Especially when you have a family. I gave him a look.
I saw that.
Honestly, most people don't think about it until they get later in years, like 50s, 60s. Then they start thinking about it. But there's so many people who they're the main breadwinner in the family dies. And then it's just a mess. It's just a mess.
It's not hard to do.
It's not that hard to do. And it's not that expensive to do.
But business owners, we have to protect ourselves too, because so many people looking to sue. There's lawyers out there just looking for a reason.
Well, that's why you incorporate her.
Right.
That's exactly why you do it.
I think we have a little bit of money.
Yep. So yeah, the attorney is important. And a coach, yeah. So your accountant and bookkeeper, you're only going to have a few financial transactions when you first start out, but at least you can understand the basics of what you're supposed to be tracking. And what they can do for you is they can pay the bills, record all your payments, follow the chart of accounts that we've been talking about. They'll reconcile all bank accounts and credit cards monthly, and they'll prepare monthly financial statements. We're still on slide 29, Chris. We're talking about CPA tax advisor. That's a certified professional, helps you keep as much of your money as possible and keeps you out of fiscal trouble. And believe me, there's a huge difference from accountant to accountant. Some are willing to, let's just say they understand the system better than most, and they can really take advantage of what the tax laws say. First of all, I think it's important to understand, you hear all the time how these millionaires and billionaires don't pay their fair share of taxes. Well, we all have the exact same tax law, all of us. So that's it's just a lie. It's just a lie. The difference is they have the wherewithal to hire the right people to understand the tax law well enough to take advantage of every single loophole that they can. To really fix that problem, they're probably going to have to go to a flat tax or something to really fix the problem and really make it fair. So, okay, so back to the CPA. What they'll do is prepare your annual federal, state, and local tax returns. We don't have local tax returns. Review and prepare payroll tax returns. Sorry.
So no, I think it's really good. I've never seen this before where it says give it to your the millionaire real estate agent book to your accountant. So I went through, I'm on my third, and I finally have a really good one. My first one was good, but my second one was terrible. And I ended up having to pay a considerable amount of taxes. And then because he saw that I made more, he charged me for like every email that I sent back and forth. I'm like, who are you? And I fired him, obviously, but I had to pay like 30 grand to the IRS, which fortunately I had it. But you need to be aware of this stuff and ask the questions of your CPA. Interview them. He was recommended it. Like, oh, okay, I'll just take it. But this is really good.
Yeah.
They gotta understand real estate.
Yeah, and
here's the other part of it too, is you can take it, they can redo your old taxes to recoup some of that money if it was really a stupid expense that you really didn't need to have.
Plus, I trust him because another agent went there. So then I was just like, oh, well, then not that agent goes there.
So there is a big difference. Yes.
Do you guys have any good referrals? Because I agree, it is hard to find a good one. I have had good that retired and bad that was not good. So
yeah, that should be. That's a good one. Just
that's a good point.
I think we were going to put together a document to send out to everyone of all 7 categories for referrals. So I think Jessica and I will get that and send it out to everyone.
So stand by for that.
7 categories.
Oh, okay.
So what happens too is if you get a good one and you start referring them friends, and like for me, I have a lot of friends, and then they get too busy and then they can't keep up with your own stuff or their own stuff, the people you referred. So then it becomes a mess that way too. So I'm hesitant sometimes to do that, but I'm sure we can get some good referrals out of the office to at least a list of people that know exactly what we're doing. They're going to prepare your quarterly estimates for income tax purposes. They're going to advise on tax planning proactive. Mine also pays my taxes for me right out of my account. Sets up my payroll for myself and for now we have an assistant. So all that's taken care of by them. And then banker. Develop a relationship with a banker. Consider working with a small local bank where it's easy to walk in and form a relationship. Your bank will help you set up the recommended accounts and credit loans you'll need for your business. I don't like credit or loans for your business. It should fund itself. Because if you're starting to get into loans for your business, I mean, people do it and they leverage it in a way that's super smart if they're really good with money and you know what they're doing. I'm just not that smart, so I don't do it. But it's worked for me. We made it through 08, 9, and 10 when we were going backwards every year. So we still made it. So, attorney. Choose an attorney who specializes in business and understands real estate. No, they're going to prepare documentation related to your business entity, advise you on legal matters concerning your business. They'll also help you with any contacts, Jessica, like you said, for your employees and or buyer's agent, showing assistant, whatever you have. And then finally, or not finally, but next page is insurance agent, slide 29 still. They'll provide risk management. You can consult with your agent to purchase the following different types of insurance, and you can leave them all. General liability insurance, E&O insurance, which we already have for you. Auto insurance, health and disability insurance, life insurance, workers' comp insurance. I'm going to talk about life insurance just for a minute because if you have a family and you've got assets that aren't fully paid for, which most of us do, it's important to at least have enough insurance that if something happened to you, your family will never have to worry about it. It'll all be taken care of. And then you'll get to a point in your life where you can drop the insurance. You won't need it because you'll build up enough reserves to go, if something happens to me, I'm going to be fine. The family will be fine. When you're young, especially, even when you're old, sometimes you got to have enough to make sure that everything's paid for when something, if something happens to you. And then of course, workers' comp.
And life insurance is very easy to get when you're young.
And I would recommend term insurance too, which is the cheapest way to do it. It'll cover you. You're not going to make anything on it, but it'll cover you the most for the least amount of money per month. And there are examples of when whole life would be okay to have for certain reasons, but most of the time it's just term insurance.
Says regarding insurance, don't confuse insurance plans with financial planning.
Oh, which is next on the list, financial planner. Trustworthy financial planner will watch your money in financial investments, as well as advise you on retirement planning and estate planning. You have some advice on this one too. Don't hire someone that sells their own stuff. In other words, find a fiduciary who goes out and finds it for you. And usually the charge is 1% of whatever they're managing. So a lot of these places will, here's the lie about the Wall Street. They'll tell you that they're smarter than you, so give them your money and they'll take care of it. It's not true. Just trust me on that. Go.
Got me set up. Got my husband. Look at this. This is legacy right here.
Anyway, I can't remember who I had, but I had somebody and I was buying these mutual funds when I was young, in my 30s. And there was a charge for the mutual fund. There's also a charge for the guy doing it. So he's double ending it, basically. Of course, I think the mutual fund charged something too. And as I'm reading, I've read a lot of books on building wealth over the years. And I just shake my head because they all say the same thing. Hire a fiduciary who does not sell their own stuff and never pay more than 1%. And buy index funds. Don't try to think you're smarter than the market. You're going to buy crypto only or something. Any young guys? Can you make money in it? I guess. I mean, I don't know anything about it. Index funds means you're buying the entire stock market. And if some things go up, some things go down, but over the long haul, you'll make money. It's a passive form of investment. Finally, coach. A coach holds you accountable to your financial goals and personal goals in a positive and encouraging manner. And of course, consider the choices offered through KW Maps. That's at mapscoaching.kw.com. I wouldn't do that unless you are independently wealthy or your business can sustain it. It's about $1,000 a month. Is that about right, Jessica? Yep. 500 breakthrough. That's every other week. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to page 23, slide 30. All right, so let's write these things down if you know the name of your accountant and bookkeeper. And what action steps you need to take for each one of those 7 items. On that same page, at page 23, it says, it has a spot that says take action suggestions. From call professionally know and schedule appointment, ask a successful agent in your market center who they use and connect with their recommendation, set a date on your calendar to contact professional and schedule an appointment, replace the person currently in the position. And of course, for the coach, call KW Maps. Yes.
What do you think about people that sell insurance and do financial planning? So like life insurance policies, disability, and they do financial.
You'd have to ask a lot of questions. What are you paying for the management of the financial planning side of it? I mean, you have to buy insurance somewhere. I don't mind if they do both, but you just have to find out. And are they selling something that their company sells? Not the insurance side of it, but the financial planning side.
One thing I've always struggled with finding a financial planner is they only deal in the stock market. It doesn't deal with other finances that you might be interested in, such as real estate.
Well, it's funny how stock people want to buy stock, and they don't get paid on your real estate. That's
right.
Not part of their management.
Right. So you think of your financial planner as setting up for your retirement, but I would argue that there's as much reward or wealth by setting yourself up with some properties that are going to pay you a monthly cash flow.
There's no argument for me.
And there's no financial planners that do that.
But they will take into consideration what you've got. What are your assets, and then what does that income look like, and what's your goal for income?
Yeah.
Then they can take into consideration how much more you need in the stock market to reach your goal of whatever the goal is.
And that would be a good one to find. Someone that can look at how diversified you are and then say, hey, here's a portion that go look for some real estate.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you to find, but go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't.
Well, they're not.
I haven't come across one.
They probably won't direct you towards most. Well, actually, you know who would though is your CPA. Good one. Good CPA will tell you you need to buy some more real estate.
Well, real estate's what we know.
Right.
Right. So if we're not investing in real estate, I'd wonder why not, first off.
Yeah, and I guess I would say out there, as much as all of us are on the retail side of real estate, it's good to get educated in investing in real estate because a lot of agents aren't. They're not educated on the investing side. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to some other agents to say, hey, find me a deal.
Yeah. So what are some books that we have here, Keller Williams, that would help you with that?
Wealth Can't Wait.
Wealth Can't Wait's a great one. It's not actually Keller Williams, but it is two guys from Keller Williams. MREI, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Hold is a great one. Flip's a great one.
They all have supplements and resources too available that you can grab and find a home that you. I don't remember who said this, probably Gary, but he said we have an opportunity because we're the first person to look at the inventory.
Well, the first thing you should be looking at is this a good investment for me? Right, before you ever put a house on the market. Not that you would tell them it's worth less than what it really is, but there are situations people don't want to put their house on the market. Either it's too much work, too much money, or one reason or the other. That's when you can find yourself in investment sometimes. Okay. But you're right. Buying and holding property is a great way to build your wealth. And it's probably in most cases, it's the most efficient way to do it too.
There's tax savings, there's cash flow, there's debt pay down.
Yep. And there's leverage.
And there's appreciation.
Let's do an example. Because people don't really get this. If you found a property, what did it do? Here it is. You found a property, let's call it, I don't know, right in this market, it's kind of hard to find. Let's call, there's one for 500,000. It's a fixer, or it's out somewhere. But it would make a great rental. And let's say you had to put how much down for a rental property?
25%.
25? So 25% of 500 is? 125. So that leaves 375 that you're financing. What would a payment on 375 be?
Straight to about 6%.
Straight to 5,000 to 6.
But it's investment.
A little over 2,000, that include taxes and insurance? Yeah. Okay, so let's call it 2,500 is your payment. So what are we going to say the rent is?
35.
3,000. Yeah.
Well, if it's not at least 3,000, why am I buying?
Yeah.
Well, let's call it 3,000. So that's 500 a month coming in, right? Which isn't a lot, but someone's paying down your mortgage.
Right.
Now you invested 125,000, and you've got 6,000 a year coming in. So what is your return on your investment? 6,000 divided by 125. 5 or 6%, isn't it? 4.8. 4.8. So is that better than what you could do at the bank?
Yes.
So is your money better off working here, or is it better off sitting in the bank doing nothing?
Working there, and the equity of the house is going to keep going up, at least in this area. It's going to keep going.
Our rent's going to go up?
Yep.
And someone else is paying down that debt.
Yeah.
And you get to depreciate the property.
You get to depreciate on your taxes.
And if you're in the position, you can take all that money, the 500, just keep paying off the loan.
The extra 500, you can put all of it towards your principal if you want. Yeah, if your house faster.
Yeah.
You're not paying it off, they are.
They are, that's right.
Or you can save the 500 a month or 6,000 a year and reinvest in something else down the road. No, it's just going to take a while to get back to 125.
But it's a snowball. You start with one, and then 3 years later, you get another.
Yep.
There's so many options.
Well, you could also you could also go up in value and go to say 800,000 buy a duplex. And all of a sudden, maybe this doubles or triples. And the numbers are completely different, right? So in the stock market, they say what? What do they say over time? It's 7-8% that you make per year. The problem is you can't count on it because the year you might want to take it out could be a year that's down. That's not going to happen in real estate. I mean, yes, prices can come down, but your renter's not going to. It's not going down.
You got to think also, you put 25% down.
Yep.
So there you are likely insulated against a major drop as far as being under.
When the stock market turns to crap, you look at, oh my God, I better sell some houses.
So you look at the graph.
No, I mean, when the stock market goes down, you're not worried about selling your house. You're just going to keep, you still got positive cash flow. You're not going to do anything. You're going to keep it.
Well, we touched on it really quickly, but you may not have a bunch of flexibility with that right when you purchase, but 3, 5, 10 years, you get so much flexibility. And then MREI actually talks about ROE, return on equity. There's a really great formula to figure out, should I be refinancing, buying another property, or 2 properties, or multi-family?
Yeah, let's say after, I don't know, 5, 10 years, this thing's down to 275. Should you refi it? I don't know, it depends. I'd refi if especially if rates are low, I'd refi just to get the payment lower and have a higher net.
Well, and in those few years, your rent's going to go up, your property value most likely should go up too.
Yeah, that's the lesson on investing in real estate. And you control it. You don't control the stock market. Okay, have you guys finished this yet? Oh, okay, we're on page 24. Sorry, I was looking at page 23. Page 24. Remember, your checks do not go straight into your personal checking account. They're first deposited into your business account. So these are the accounts you should get set up. The question is, do you already have them, or will you set them up and when?
What other accounts may you want to set up? What?
IRA. An IRA account? Something that you're going to fund an IRA with, or an actual IRA account, because you can do either. Investing account, actually it has that. Investment savings. How about a profit share savings?
$529.
How about a 529 account for your grandkids? Not for your kids, they don't deserve it.
Grandkids.
Yeah, I'm winning either way.
Yes, please.
What about for your rental properties? You have separate savings accounts in each one. Might be a good idea to have some money sitting in there. For what? Because what happens with rentals? The roof goes bad, the plumbing goes bad, anything could go bad.
You might get a weird tenant that keeps telling you there's a raccoon in the attic and there's not a raccoon in the attic, but you pay a lot of money to To try and find the raccoon?
There's no raccoon.
That happened to me just a
So
couple
what
months
was
ago.
in the attic? So what was in the attic?
Nothing.
Who went in the attic?
Similar.
Oh, I had to pay an exterminator for it.
More than once?
Just once.
Rocky raccoon.
Rocky raccoon.
Yeah, this is.
So at the bottom of this page, it says credit cards can be an asset for tracking your expenses. You can easily recap what you're spending and for what. Plus, you can earn points and travel miles in exchange for a membership fee. Caution, pay your credit card balances off each month. Most banks have that option where they can automatically pay the entire balance at the end of each month. And you might have to dig, like BEC didn't have that. So I said, no, hold on, I can do that at Chase, why should I do it here? I said, well, you actually can, you just can't set it up yourself. I said, okay, well, who do I got to talk to? So I was able to set that up. And the only reason we did that is because we've been using debit cards for so long that our credit score kept going down. We weren't financing anything. So it does, in some cases, it does make sense to have a credit card, providing you're paying it off each month, right? Yeah.
So whenever you're setting your business and you're able to apply for a credit card,
to your business, but usually it's your personal credit score that will get you the credit card. And I'd probably use, if you're in real estate, I'd probably use a pretty small amount. You wouldn't need a whole lot, wouldn't they? Maybe 5,000 maybe? I don't know.
They usually want a P&L. So you have to be in business for a while.
Definitely have to have a business to put it in a business name. Is this the time, Chris, for the break?
Yeah, the next portion is going to go through business entities. And it always seems like there's a interesting discussion. So why don't we take a quick break?
Let's be back in here at 2:05. That's 14 minutes. Okay.
Yes, we do a testing class. We don't have a week. Yes. You did. Okay.
I don't know yet. I'm funding it.
We're upstate. Yeah. It's not much out there, but it's like, hands off.
And then 18 months to start.
Yeah, that was my thing with having invested.
So she got this one. And she started getting paid 6 months.
He does that.
Yeah, they leave the plastics here, like over here. Right here. Oh, just synthesize, yeah.
That's a lot. Right. You come well, here, like, just realize. I'd rather work with someone. Yeah, they put an offer on the place a couple months back and we backed out.
Right, the other thing you can do.
Browsing
but they're not licensed.
They're not. Some of, well, but here's the other thing. Every advertisement that I do when I send out has stayed on my website. And I never.
Yeah, Jen's
but I just
there. I gotta get that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I just closed that.
Lena had heard of it. I was discussing that. She asked me about measuring only tonight.
It's like meeting Yes.
I don't even remember we met
Tomorrow.
long time ago.
I mean, I will be here.
Oh, we have Randy.
Yes.
That's the one. Oh, yes, that's right now. Oh my gosh, yeah, it was a long time. Very. Yeah, that, yeah. Yeah.
You were famous.
But at the same time,
Oh,
you're
we
not
did,
happy
yeah.
because this is like you drive up.
Yes.
So when I met you, you know.
Yes.
I'm like, where are you from?
You're the one. I'm like,
That's the boss lady.
guilty as charged.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, good to see you. She, I got it.
Ready.
Yeah.
I'll check on my processes.
Yeah, what are you gonna get?
I always see these kids running around. If I grew up, I was like,
I'm gonna move both in there. So, quick question.
Yes.
Do I have money to save? I have 80,000 to save. Or is it start 10,000 because the rental paid my mortgage? Like, I paid it. So I have 60,000 in credit card. Should I get the mortgage? Or should I just keep paying my mortgage? I have money left because I have, that's okay. So I have, or like, you know, like emergency savings, those might save.
In fact, that same question, you can still have the exact same question that are
Yeah.
she had the we're gonna do it, I think, in October, September, October.
I need him, like I need, my husband is a very open person, but he's always scared. We already have 2 investment properties, and one of them is paid off, and the other one gives us about $1,600 a month extra from the mortgage payment. Every time I say, let's buy this, he's like, no. So right now we're in contract for $1 million. He said no, then I'm like, congratulations. Like his brother, and he might be the best. So I pushed it, but after a year, like, that was a good decision. But like he said, I just went to the public.
1,600, you're good.
And probably 3 years can be soon, right? And the home that is paid off, we already got the
Right side.
So the approval property,
They have my son and his wife, they in Richmond, he does accounting, and they have 20 businesses. So.
Last time Pam said I need to set up an appointment. I need to talk to
and there's no more. Probably have your own jet plane, you know. Just take let's go on radar, take it for a ride. I just feel like when it's like, we're on the first shot.
Hey Sam, please grab your husband. He's out of control again.
I went to real estate school with him.
You did?
Nice. I try to recruit everybody for the place.
You did a good job. Okay, guys, let's go on to page 25. Man, we got a lot of pages left to cover. This one's on choosing your business entity. First of all, I'm not an accountant. I do have several companies, and I can tell you how they're set up. Well, some of them I'm not even sure why they're set up that way, but I always listen to the accountant. So that's the first thing I'm trying to tell you is talk to your accountant about how you want to set it up or how he wants to set it up and why that's important. So let's talk about sole proprietorship. That's an entity for an individual business owner. So one person operation or solo agent business. And that's a default entity. And that's where you receive all profit after taxes. You have the responsibility for all losses and debts. Personal assets may be at stake if the business fails or if the agent is sued for debts unpaid. And business income expenses are reported on Schedule C as part of the personal income tax return. So sole proprietors assume all risk and the money is not as protected as with other entities. If you do get sued, they can come after you, your personal assets as well. That's why sole proprietorships are probably not the best way to be in real estate. It's easy to get sued in real estate. And then second is partnership. Partnerships are popular for real estate businesses. This entity is for 2 or more owners, partners with equal ownership, voting rights, and liability. They're easy to form and typically with no state filing. Partners receive profits and each reports their own share of profit or loss on tax returns. Partners are equally responsible for all losses and debts. And then an LLC, limited liability company. An LLC combines the structure of a corporation with the routine of a partnership. The company can be owned by one person or more than one, and it provides limited liability and the tax advantages of a partnership. You create your LLC by filing documents with your state. And here's the advantage: it shields your personal assets. You can't commingle any business and personal money. At least you're not supposed to. Owners of LLCs may not be personally responsible for business debts. It's got flexible tax reporting options. Insurance costs may be less. Option to raise money for the business by selling membership interests. Option to be taxed like a sole proprietor or a corporation. And may increase your professional image, leading to new clientele. On page 27, slide 32. Corporate entity is the most common form of business organization. Consult with your real estate board about the rules for real estate corporations in your state. That shields your personal assets. There's no commingling of business and personal money. Then there are two options depending on how you'd like your business to be taxed. An S Corp, that is a pass-through entity. It means the business itself is not taxed. The owners pay personal income tax on the profits. So if you made a ton of money one year, you're paying that as personal income tax. That's the whole point of the S Corp, is that it's a flow through. Owners may be treated as employees with a salary. You can't pay yourself a salary as well. A C Corp is income is taxed at the corporate level. Owners have limited liability. Personal assets are protected. Owners may be treated as employees with a salary. Here's the thing about a C Corp is that if your company made money and you didn't take it all as income, you're now paying tax on that money that the corporation made on top of the tax you paid for yourself. Whenever you take the money out of that corporation down the road, you pay tax again as income tax. That's the problem with a C Corp. That's why most real estate agents don't have that. Sometimes there's reasons for it, but most real estate agents don't have it. Most of them have an LLC with an S corporation. Oh, here it is at the bottom. Spotlight on an LLC plus S Corp. When Agent Monty started his real estate business, he was advised to form an LLC. As the business began to earn more, he was shocked by the amount of taxes he was paying. Monty discussed this with his accountant, who had recommended that he be taxed like an S Corp while keeping his LLC intact. After making this change, Monty began paying himself and his wife a modest salary, and then paid himself a monthly dividend from the extra profits his company was earning. The difference saved him between $6,000 and $8,000 in taxes a year. The reason for that was, I believe, is because he's not having to pay the full amount in, what's it called? Self-employment tax, sorry.
I think you have to pay yourself what the average salary
Yeah,
is.
you don't get to pay yourself.
Right.
You know, it has to be a reasonable salary.
Yeah. It's like 40 to 60,000 around.
Okay, on page 28, circle your current entity and make notes about actions you may take when considering another type of entity. And then on page 29, bottom line is get your financial team in order. Set up your bank accounts to help you manage your business. Time block, get out your calendars and set an appointment to visit your bank to set up your new account. You don't even have to sit. Oftentimes, if you're just setting up a savings account, you just get online and do it. It's not that hard. But if you're opening a new account, that is hard. It's gotten harder and harder over the years. Yes.
But not in a business account. I don't think you can do that. You have to go in and show them.
Yes, you do. You have to show them your,
LLC.
yeah, probably your operating agreement. And I found too lately that they want an appointment for that. I think it's because banks are lean right now, like lean on employees, right? And so it's like, hey, if you want to talk to a bank, you got.
And they want to tell you in advance.
Yeah, a hot mess. I like that. Yeah. Hear that, Tracy? No hot mess. No hot messes.
No hot mess.
At the
They
bank.
want appointments so they can tell you about paperwork.
Right. But I also think they're also thinking about protecting themselves too, right? Knowing who's coming in, not just like hot mess.
Could be. That's why it's important to have a personal relationship with bankers. Because now, I mean, I get to call somebody that I know, and I just tell them, here's what I want to do, and get it set up. And either they can or can't. Usually they can't, but if they can't, then they say, well, you got to go in and talk to so-and-so, but I'll set you up an appointment. Okay. So lastly, list at least one action you will take as a result of what you've learned in this chapter. Turn to page 32, about the taxing truth. I feel like all I'm doing today is talking about taxes. Maybe I'm discarded for life for my first 7 years in the military. It says we have an epidemic. Taxes are due April 15th. Wrong. The big lie. We all know that taxes are due April 15th, right? Not true for business owners like you. April 15th is the date of reconciliation and documentation of what you paid throughout the year. Taxes for sole proprietors, partners, LLCs, and corporations are due 4 times a year, and there are penalties, harsh penalties for not paying on time. So pay attention to the ever-changing tax laws. Your tax advisor is a valuable partner in helping you stay informed of tax laws. Tax laws are, with every administration, have the opportunity to change. So it's really important to stay on top of that, or not you, but your accountants, which is what they do. So let them do their job. The truth is every day is tax day. Estimated taxes are payable on the following dates. So from January through March 31st, they're due April 15th. April 1st through May 31st, they're due June 15th. And June 1st through August 31st, September 15th. And then September 1st through December 31st, January 15th. So one of the activities you can do is put tax due dates on your calendar. Again, this is something that if you get steady in making money, it might be a good idea to have your accountant start doing monthly deposit for you. It's just so, for me, it's just a peace of mind. You can sleep a lot better. It looks really good when you only make quarterly because you're saving up all this money for taxes. And then every quarter you got to flush it to the IRS. So I just say pay it monthly. Okay, page 33, pay quarterly estimates on time. You're required to pay estimated tax each quarter. It's smart to know the approximate amount. Again, you can do this yourself, but I wouldn't. I mean, it just gets somebody. It's not that expensive. And the taxes are based on the following: your earnings, deductions depending on marital status, spouse's income, and more. Estimating how much to pay, a quick calculation is to save and pay approximately. They say 40%. I'm telling you 30% should be enough. Again, unless you're making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, then you probably want to get your tax accountant involved to help you figure that out. Penalties: when you do not pay your estimated taxes on specified dates, you must pay penalties and interest in addition to the tax you owe. Extensions are only for the detailed paperwork. I still do extensions every year, maybe because it's complicated and there's a lot of different moving parts that have to get into the accountant, and he's slammed with everybody else's stuff that has to be done by April 15th. He does an extension for me and we get it done by August or September. But we always have the pay is already there. The pay's already been taken care of because he does it monthly. And then we're on slide 36. The hardest thing in the world to understand is income tax. Albert Einstein. There are 4,000 pages of tax code. Well, the funny thing is there's only 30 pages of how to pay your taxes. 3,970 pages of how to not pay your taxes. And you wonder why multimillionaires and billionaires are not paying their fair share. Well, it's fair. They didn't set up the laws. They're just following the laws. Think of it this way. Get on a soapbox now. The IRS, or the government, I should say, is incentivizing you to do certain things with your money. Behave a certain way with your money, and you do that, and you get to not pay as much tax. That's all it is. Okay. Okay, different types of taxes. Because you don't have an employer withholding tax from your paycheck for you, it's essential that you take care of it yourself. 3 general types of business tax. 1 is income tax, 2 is self-employment tax, 3 is employment tax. So income tax. All businesses must pay federal income tax annually. Tax you pay is based on what is reported on your 1040 IRS tax form. Again, if you're paying the right amount per month or quarterly, you shouldn't have to pay that either because that's already been factored into what you're paying. State tax, we're not even going to talk about because we don't have one. We do have sales tax, which a lot of places don't. That's where we pay our taxes for the state. Income tax, city, we don't have that. We do have, some cities do have business licensing stuff that you got to pay for. Estimated tax, depending on your business entity, self-employed, sole proprietor, partner, or S corp, shareholder, and if you expect it to owe $1,000 or more in tax, you may have to make estimated tax payments every quarter. And then page 35. Self-employment tax, or FICA. Self-employment tax is a Social Security and Medicare tax for individuals who work for themselves and earn $400 or more. This tax is based on your net business income. You pay 15.3% of your net business income up to $132,900. Then it drops to 2.9% for income over $132,900. That was 2019 that was written. I don't know what it is now. And then employment tax, when you have employees, you must withhold, match, and pay taxes on their behalf that include the following: Social Security and Medicare taxes, federal income tax withholding, federal unemployment tax.
Don't they have that new leave tax credits? Like employee leave, something like that?
Probably, yeah, especially in the state. Yeah, yeah. So there's another, when you're taking on an employee, it's a lot. You got to make sure that you're basically adding someone to your family. That's how I'd look at it. Right, Mackenzie?
Yep.
Yeah. Annual tax forms for self-employed. I don't need to go into these because, well, I will tell you K1. K1s are, you have corporations, and the K1 is like what the company made. Instead of getting it in salary, maybe you may have some that comes as K1, meaning a different form from the IRS that says, here's the distribution from the company that you own. That makes sense. You're still paying tax on it. Not getting out of it. But again, it's always tax accountant. Page 36. Here's the benefit of paying yourself a set dollar amount each month. which makes financial planning and tax estimating easier. So the question is, how much will you pay yourself each month? How much will you save for your estimated taxes? Here's an example. Jim's goal is to pay himself $140,000 annually. So therefore, his pay will be $140,000 divided by 12, which is $11,667 per month. Jim will save for his estimated income tax. They're saying 40%, which I think is high. This leaves him with approximately $7,000 each month for his personal expenses. So here's the activity. Calculate what you want to pay yourself each month, along with how much to save each month for taxes and how much is left over. Shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. Anybody want to volunteer what they're saving for taxes? Michelle.
$2,250.
2,215?
$2,250.
Oh, 2,250. Okay.
So I have a question on that.
Yeah.
So if I'm putting my commission checks into my business bank account,
yep,
and I put 30% automatically into my tax savings account in my business account, and then I pay myself, so really I pay myself that what's left, the personal at the bottom, what I'm doing on this, right? I'm not paying myself the salary. I'm not paying myself the 11,000. I'm only paying myself the 7 because I've already put 30% into my.
Correct. Well, what will happen is if you're paying on like a salary, that's a payroll, right?
Currently, right now, no, I do not have myself
okay,
set up on payroll. I'm just literally transferring the money from my business account to my personal account.
So you might want to set it up as a salary.
Okay.
That'd be my aha right there.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially
for also let your accountant do it.
Yeah.
You could do it yourself, but
I mean, I have a bookkeeper that does my salary for my admin. So
perfect.
I just need to add myself.
Yep. Just add yourself. Add yourself, because how much better is it to have? I know. Here's how much I have coming in every month.
Yeah.
Honey, that's not on our budget. Budget's this.
Yeah.
Here's what we have. Now you can start. Here's how people get rich. It's just an idea. You have a separate bucket over here. It's called your business. Now it's still got cash in it. You're not taking everything that the company makes.
Right.
What happens is that thing starts to build up, and you're living on this 7,000, but you're making 15 or 20 or whatever the number is, right? And so pretty soon that number starts building and building and building. Now you are going to pay tax on that, but you're not living on it.
Right.
See, and so that's where you've got money to invest in rental properties and whatever else.
Yeah, because if you're set up as an LLC, that's what you're still that LLC is still personal.
Yeah.
You're getting taxed.
Personal tax.
Personally, you're not getting taxed as much as what stays in the business. So you can go do whatever you want with that money as an owner withdrawal. Right. But they do want to see you take the salary because you'll get taxed on that salary as personal income. They are taxed.
Think of it as a separate savings account. The more of those you have that you don't think about, the better. What I'm trying to say, that's really how people get rich. So you could have, we talked about another savings account that you should set up. If you had some savings accounts that were just kind of for special things and just, you didn't look at it, that was money that's set aside for something else. The more of those you have, the more money you're going to end up with. Okay, so deductions and credits, we're on page 37. There is a plus side to being taxed, and that is protection of your income. You pay less tax when you properly report deductions and credits. Take full advantage of these pluses. And it says, note, there are many changes due to the Tax Jobs and Cuts Act of 2017 that will affect you in 2018 and beyond. Consult with your tax advisor. Did you realize that in 2019 or 2020 and 19, In 2020 and 2021, as a business owner, you can write off your meals and entertainment 100%. It used to be 50%, but just these 2 years, 20 and 21. Does it have to be for business? Yes. When you and Renard go out, you ever talk about business? Do you ever go out?
Every day.
Every now and then.
Rare.
So you go out once in a while, but probably talk about business.
Right.
And it was 2022. So
Damn.
that's what I just
Maybe,
said.
maybe it's 2021 and 2022.
It's 2021.
I think it is too. Yeah, because it was all last year. And it is this year, I think, too.
Okay, well, then we're going up to 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep your receipt. Who'd you have dinner with? Keep the receipt. You got to have documentation. The key is documentation. Have you done one?
Yeah, we did the goal setting retreat.
Yeah.
She came to the goal setting retreat and wrote the whole thing on.
I did that with the
Same thing, goal setting
Oh, okay.
retreat. Yeah.
She was, no.
She was at the year before.
The one
Oh.
before.
Yeah, the year before.
Or when
I
you,
know I was there.
when you have an LLC, you're supposed to have an annual meeting
Yep.
every year. And so you can pick.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? What's funny is my wife and I kept having ours on our anniversary.
Oh,
It just worked out. We had to stay at Snoqualmie Lodge up there. So
Last year, mine worked out to be when the kids got out of school, it's in summer, so. it was
it was just a coincidence,
just
right?
happened to-
We have our annual meeting.
Yeah.
There we go, bam. Hey, shoot, we need that for a while.
Just keep the minutes.
Yeah. Well,
I keep the minutes.
my
Tracy said yes to
horse.
what I
that
said. That's it, that's done.
You just got to keep document. You
right.
just have to prove. There's actually a list of things you got to prove, but it's not that hard.
Okay, so what if we go look at real estate as well while we're there? We gotta.
Another reason, supposedly you're supposed to spend 4 hours minimum doing business. To be able, 4 hours what?
1 minute.
1 minute. Sorry about the 1 minute. At least half your day, supposedly of 8 hours, more than half your day, in business activity to write it on.
Well, I mean, that can include, doesn't it include, like, if I have phone search set up for my clients, I'm still on my computer working and sending them homes from Hawaii.
Yeah, as long as you do it for 4 hours, 1 minute.
You don't have to justify to me.
But I'm just making
Here's
sure.
something
I
I
still,
learned.
I mean,
Yes.
I verified it with Chris. So,
Okay.
say you're taking a long weekend. And because you get, for business trips that you can write off, you get 2 days for travel, 1 there, 1 back. You leave on a Thursday, you have a travel day Thursday, you work 4 hours, 1 minute on Friday, you get weekends off, and then your travel day is Monday.
So you only had to work 4 hours. You just got a 5-day
so
weekend.
I leave on
40.
Friday.
Five, yeah.
5
Depending on
day?
where you're going and how long your travel
Make
actually
it a
is.
short flight.
Short flight.
Well,
You
I
get 1 day
sure.
for travel.
You get 2 days for travel. 1 day
Well, that's
back
enough. 1 day there and 1 day back.
that you can write off.
I just read today, Alaska Airlines now has nonstop flights.
Yes, I just
to
saw
Tahiti.
that too.
Guru and I looked it up.
And it's amazing there if you've never been. Where? Tahiti.
It's one of my
It
goals.
is, oh, it's
Is that right?
amazing.
When
But
you
you got,
change your venue for the temple school center?
Yes.
right, there you go.
Tahiti, yes.
But go to Bora Bora and Moorea. Moorea has excellent dining. Just saying.
Income you pay less in taxes. Credits are, you reduce your tax directly. What is a tax credit? Does anyone know?
So tax, we used to have adoption tax credits.
Okay.
To adoption, because I don't think that's a thing anymore. But we were able to write off the time, I think adoption tax credit was $25,000. We didn't have to pay $25,000 in taxes. So we actually got to take all of our tax liability against that $25,000 and roll it over the next year.
Goes directly to the taxes. So remember when, who was here in 08? 08, 9, and 10. Were you in business then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the tax credits for buying your first home?
Yeah. Well, the $8,000.
It was $8 grand or
Yes.
$9 grand or whatever the number was.
Yes. The first one you had to pay back. The second round that they did it, you didn't have to
As long as you kept the house for 1 year or longer or something. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. I got a lot of first-time buyers buying houses.
Yeah.
Back when they could still afford it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much equity they have now if they still lived in it.
They don't get gas credit this year.
I don't know, probably. But deductions come from legitimate business expenses. The IRS allows you to reduce your taxable income by a certain percentage of your expense. It's important to keep track of what you spend in the course of conducting your business so you can take advantage come tax time. You do have to think that, I forget what the number, I think it's 3 out of 5 years, it's got to be profitable at least. So it's not like you can, yeah, you can't stay unprofitable forever. You got to make money every once in a while. It's also critical to know when expenses you cannot deduct because only allowable business expenses are deductible. Deductible business expenses must also conform to the rule of regularly and exclusively used in the business. Remember, tax deductions are great. However, tax deductible doesn't mean free. So don't incur an expense just because of the deduction. How many times have you heard, I need the deduction? You don't need the deduction. You're choosing to take that deduction because you want to buy something. That's all it is. Okay. So here's activity for you. Know the difference between personal and business expenses. Go through and check which boxes are for which, personal, business, or both. And I have the answers, so we'll go through it as soon as you're done. I don't know. I'm down there. Do it now. No.
Oh. Nobody saw it. It's
okay.
Fine.
No cheating.
I asked her that if her fees were deductible to know.
Yeah, they are. They're a business expense. Unless she's doing the personal income tax. Personal is not business.
It is. Oh.
You still have business stuff. I'd write it off. Pay it with your business account. Write a check for your business account. Let's go ahead and click the slide and see where we're at. So accountant fees. Business. Carmen said, my accountant said my taxes aren't deductible. The fees that she's charging her to do her taxes are not deductible. And I said, pay it with your business account. Yeah. How's she going to deny that? Automobile gas insurance is both. Business cards is business. Cell phone is both. Who actually uses, I mean, who actually separates that? Nobody I know. It's business.
Yeah.
Clothing is personal, unless you're required to wear a uniform. Yeah. Swag, your own swag. Probably could. Computer is both. Again, you have a home computer and an office computer. I'd say you could, yeah. Groceries are personal, unless you're buying groceries. There used to be a
Events.
thing.
Yeah, I was thinking for an event, then it's go.
Right, and there used to be a thing called a broker's open.
Yeah.
You've been around a long time, where you got agents to come look at your house that you're trying to sell because no one's looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is old, in the olden days. Health insurance is both. I write that off 100% from business. Although he may, I don't know, maybe my accountant does something that, I don't know, maybe a personal benefit, I don't know. Yeah. Home mortgage rent is personal. Some people could say it could be both, but it gets really, it's one of those deductions that you have to be really careful of. You got to have it well documented, let's put it that way. And exactly, it has to be set up correctly as well. So home office, there you go. Home office is both. Home utilities, both. Meals, both. Membership in professional organization, business. Membership to gym is personal. Movies, theaters, personal. Travel to family reunion is business.
That is why would the membership to the gym be both? No, membership to the gym.
How's that business?
For somebody else.
No, I think it would depend on.
Like a deferred, health.
So like one of the big areas that if you're in Seattle, it's called the WAC, Washington Athletic Club, is a big meeting place for business people. My guess is they probably do use it for business. In fact, I know they use it for business and they probably write the entire thing off. Yet there's gyms and things to do there. Yes.
Yeah, I would say that I know corporations, my wife used to work for T-Mobile.
Yep.
They would give them a subsidy to the gym for their gym membership because their thought is it would lower their healthcare costs.
Yep.
So I'm sure they're right about that.
They call it preventive. That's why I didn't put out.
Yeah, so you can totally take.
Business pays your gym membership for your employee.
Yep. But check with your accountant. If he's comfortable with it, then you should be.
Yeah, there's a risk tolerance.
Remember, your accountant is the guy that has to go to the audit if you get audited, not you. You don't necessarily have to be there. But your accountant does.
Yeah. Dennis and I said both on movies and theaters because now you can advertise in the theater.
You can also
your advertisement.
And you can rent it for an event.
I mean, you could say both.
Well, if you're renting it for, okay, but if you're renting it for an event, that is an event. And yes, that is a full 100% deduction because it's all your
also
people.
Market yourself on that big huge screen nowadays too. They sell that space.
Yeah, but only for what you're paying for. In other words, you don't need to go to the movie and deduct that too. Try if you want. Good luck.
Buy movie tickets for my clients.
Yes. And then finally, website fees is business.
I do have a question.
Yes.
In regards to automobile, gas, and insurance.
Yes.
So if you write off your miles.
Yes.
You can't write off your gas.
Correct.
All of that stuff. Okay. One or the other. You can't write off insurance for it.
Yeah, but what is it nowadays for? Does anyone know what the mileage?
55 cents.
It's at least 55. I think it's higher.
55 or 57.
What's the question?
What's the
mileage deduction per mile for business?
I don't think the 2022 one is out yet.
Yeah.
Might be like $1.25.
Yeah. $2.
58.5.
58.5. Yeah. It's good because I haven't paid my 2022 taxes yet.
Yeah. Wait,
No, that's what it came up
Oh,
with.
58. Okay.
Really?
Well, according to Google.
So as it
Don't
turns
quote
out,
me on anything.
the next page is about auto deductions, so we'll go through that real fast. You may deduct auto expenses when your auto is used for business. However, this doesn't mean you may deduct all of your auto expenses. This is because you most likely drive your auto for personal use as well. This personal use cannot be deducted. You must keep track of your business miles so you may deduct the same percentage of your auto expenses. Keep track of miles driven in a year. January 1st, write down the odometer reading. December 31st, write down the odometer reading. Throughout the year, keep a log of the miles driven for business. At the end of the year, you have two numbers, total miles driven and total miles for business.
Get the apps on your phone.
There's an app you can get. I think it'll go into that, used to.
Mileage IQ.
Yep, it's next page, it's on the next page. Yeah.
It's right on the next page, Mile IQ.
Yep, Mile IQ, Hurdler, and QuickBooks Self-Employed. And KDRI does not endorse these products or guarantee their applicability. They're shown here as examples only. Jessica, are you using something different?
No, I use my IQ, and if you like download it from the App Store, don't pay the $70. If you have a Microsoft account, it's covered.
They say that again.
It's part of your Microsoft account.
She's trailing off. She's trailing off. That's to get attention.
Oh, is what now?
Part of your Microsoft. You don't have to pay the $70 or whatever.
For Mileage IQ.
So like if you have Microsoft Word on your computer?
Like if you have a 365 account.
Oh, okay. I got a CD.
Computer has a CD.
Well, okay, so
yeah, exactly.
So it says keep track of your actual auto expenses using one of two strategies. One, apply a standard deduction, which is probably what 99% of us will do. Two, keep track of all your auto expenses to determine your deduction. There's a whole different way to do it, but standard deduction, look up the standard mileage allowance for deductions. You find that on the IRS.gov site, and then multiply the number of business miles by the allowance. So here's the example. Mary logged 15,000 business miles. Her deduction for that year in 2018 was 54.5 cents. So she got an $8,000 auto deduction. Here's the other way to do it is keep track of all your auto expenses to determine your deduction. So Mary spent $8,000 on auto expenses, 8,000 times 75%, which is how much she used for business. She only got a $6,000 deduction.
And you wonder if you like you use flip flop, like 1 year I want to do
I don't know.
car, and I do it that year.
Yes.
My accountant tracks both of them.
Okay.
And then he figures out which one is the best option.
So what if I paid off a car? I use that full amount that I paid off.
I think we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. It's an account question. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Here's the weird part. There are, I don't know if they're credits or if they're deductions for electric vehicles now.
There are some credits, and there's also the commercial vehicle credit.
Uh-huh.
If you buy like
one ton. Yeah, one ton.
So like the Escalades.
They're either 1 ton or 3/4 ton. They're big vehicles.
Yeah.
There's deduction for that. Deduction or credit?
Credit.
Credit. And the electric is credit. Goes right off your tax. So if it's a $5,000 credit, you owe 55,000, you only owe 50. I'm not trying to push electric because I don't know anything about them and I don't have a place to plug in at my house either. So. But they are kind of cool. I've been in before. Okay. Checklist on page 42. This is for you to make sure you're taking full advantage of all your business tax deductions. You don't have to do this now, but I would highlight this page and come back to it. Maybe go over it with your account and make sure you're getting everything. And let's go on to page 43. Home office. You can deduct the use of a home office. Be aware of tax implications to avoid an audit and having to pay penalties and fines. The IRS requires your office at home be used regularly and exclusively for your business. Exclusively for your business. That means you can't go in your den when you're not doing business, or I don't know. I don't understand it. So
The vehicle thing is 6,000 pounds. It's a deduction of $25,000.
okay. Thank you for looking that up. That's not very much pounds.
6,000?
So the vehicle weighs 6,000, doesn't haul 6,000.
No, 6,000 pound curb weight, not to exceed 14,000.
Right. So it's big SUVs and trucks.
And they have to buy new.
Got it. So the IRS requires you have a home, your office at home be used regularly and exclusively for business. This means often and not for personal use. One measure is if you regularly see clients in your home office. Occasional meetings and phone calls do not make it a qualified deduction. The requirements, record keeping, and reporting are far more complex than they used to be. Refer to IRS publication, blah, blah, blah. Seek counsel from your tax advisor. Entertainment meals, you may deduct up to 50%. See, this was done in 2019 for these new deals came out. 50% of business-related entertainment and meals. Good and accurate record keeping is essential. You must document the clients involved in the business reason along with receipts. Business travel, you may deduct 100% of travel expenses related to the business. Again, excellent, accurate record keeping is essential. Keep this deduction in mind as you plan for travel with family reunion, Navy camp, and other training and seminars. Do not classify business travel as entertainment meals, which has a 50% cap. So when you're traveling and you buy a meal, that's 100%, not a 50% deduction. Because it's all business. Page 44 is record keeping. Keep track of all your business expenses along the way instead of waiting until tax time and you've forgotten or lost receipts. Anybody ever lose a receipt? Or just not even pick them up? Yeah, that's me. So these are some apps that you could use to help you to do that. Jessica, have you used any of these?
No, I use Neat.
Neat?
Which is a digital file.
I use Everlane.
You used Everlane? So give me a basic understanding of how it works. You take a picture of a receipt and it saves it for you?
Take a picture of a receipt, put it in the right folder, and I can scan documents like I put my insurance policy, my rental property in there this morning. Just scan it on a copier to myself file. Looks like a file cap to be a file. And my bookkeeper can log in remotely if she wants to see what my receipts are.
Very high tech.
And what's their
You're never going to get out of it. But if you do, you'll have all your stuff.
What's it? It's Neat. Neat.
NEAT?
They used to sell it with the scanner, and then they discovered the software was better than the scanner, so they stopped the scanner.
And you used Everlance?
I just used it for mileage.
Okay. Okay, bottom line, page 45. Estimate, save for, and pay quarterly taxes on time. Track deductible business expenses and pay less tax. Use a mileage tracking app and a receipt collection app to make tracking expenses easier. Are you saying Everlance does both mileage and receipts? Sounds like it.
I did when I used it. I used it for mileage. I don't. Let me see if I still have it on my phone.
It does?
Which ones? That little guy.
And list at least one action item you take as a result of what you learned in this chapter.
Yep, it does little reports. I didn't use it for Dennis. That's expensive also.
Okay.
Everlance is nice because you can literally just like, I'm leaving and then it tracks your for you.
Huh. Crazy this technology nowadays. Not sure if I want them following me everywhere. Yeah, I know. It's better that I don't know though. Right. Let's go on to page 48. Slide 44. Yep. Okay, so these are goals versus actual. So what you expect to hit based on your vision of a big life, and then what you actually hit based on the activities you engage in. So goals are set at the beginning of your planning. You're using the profit goals and MREA guidelines for your budget. And then you track your actuals, and that's what happens every day, week, month, and year, and as a result of your focused effort on activities. So Jessica, what was your assistant saying about?
Why are we tracking that?
She said, why, previously, all up until now, we've only tracked leg measures, meaning you can't do anything to change your GCI once you see your GCI. You can, when she says lead measures, she means appointments. How many appointments did we actually go on? And how many appointments do I need to go on to get one sale done? That's the kind of lead measure you're talking about. And what this is saying is result of your focused effort on activities. So what's an activity that will drive your GCI? Say that again?
Lead gen.
Lead gen, yeah. How many hours a week are you spending on lead gen? Say that again? How many appointments and signed agreements? Yeah, it's a lead measure. So there's so many things that you need to track in order to make sure you're going to hit your goal. Yes. Say what that is again.
It's activity tracker, but they'll ask you like how many hours of each day. We just edited it, so now I just noticed that this last week. And I'm still learning, like, you know,
that's the one thing that they can't track for you automatically. They can track your closings. They can track your written units that got accepted. They can track the listings you took, the volume you did, year over year increases or decreases. They can't track appointments because unless you're putting them in yourself.
Yeah, I just have like a printout that I need.
So it's a printout, but then if you put it in the computer as well. So that's actually a great way to, it's a great habit to get into because now you know this, if I do this activity, it leads to this many appointments, that many appointments leads to this many sales. So
Pretty cool.
There's a recording.
That's the tracker. Crystal. Okay. Page 49. 2 business scorecards that Savvy business people utilize regularly to provide snapshots of the score of your business. And that is your balance sheet and your income statement. It's slide 45.
I know, it's not wanting to click.
Oh, Chris did something to make it work. There you go.
And the mouse has to be over there. That's the only thing I did.
Do it again.
So we've talked a lot about profit and loss statements. We haven't really talked about balance sheets. Does anybody want to try to explain what a balance sheet is? Michelle pointed to you.
Yeah, and I said,
I still don't pull. I mean, I know what balance sheets are from because I worked in hospitality, so I understood it that, but still it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it for agents. So that's good. I'll tell you.
Well, in personal finance, we call it a net worth statement.
You could, yeah. But it might not be your only net worth. Your business isn't your only thing you have. You might have.
Yeah, but this would be isolated. So your
Correct.
business balance sheet would be a component of the personal net worth statement, but it's what you have minus what you owe.
Yeah, so it's a snapshot. At any given moment of time, usually at the end of each month. Snapshot of what you owe, what are your assets, what are your liabilities, what's your net worth is one way to look at it, but that's strictly for the business, right? Good way. And I always, when you have a profit and loss, you always want to see the balance sheet. The balance sheet will tell you how much cash is in the bank, how much you currently owe outside of what's already paid for, in deductions that you have as far as depreciation goes. Most of you are not going to have depreciation. Depreciation would be things like, oh man, a really expensive computer that you decide you want to depreciate instead of just expense. Complicated, you don't have to worry about it. Your accountant will figure that out for you. It's not hard to understand them, it really isn't. Page 50 goes into the profit and loss statement. These give you percentages of how much you should be spending on your operating expense. Operating expenses should be around 30% of your GCI. You can spend up to 15.5% on salaries and benefits. Does not include the owner's salary for the most part. At least not on MREA. Lead generation is about 9.6%. So those are your two big ones. The rest are minor. Education coaching is 1.5%. Occupancy is 1%. Supplies, office expenses 1%. Communication technology less than 1%. Auto insurance is 0.5%. So you can get the idea of about how much you should be spending. Your cost of sale, I don't know if it goes into cost of sale. Oh, it does. It says 30%. But if you're a solo agent or if you don't have buyer's agents, you're not going to spend 30%. You're going to spend less. Okay. So on page 51, if you guys can get into groups of 2 or 3, study the P&L that we're looking at here. Does the budget follow the MREA percentage guidelines? That's the first question. And looking at the actual results, did the agent do a reasonable job anticipating income and expenses when creating their budget? So go ahead and get into groups of 2 or 3 and kind of go through this and see if have your calculator with you if you need to.
You guys go there. I'll go.
Oh, wait, it's okay. It's okay. We'll do 4. We'll do 4.
Can you go back to the percentages?
I don't know. I think. Yeah. I think.
So guys, the percentages are up here. So if you can even check their percentages. Yes. Right.
Oh, yeah. So then how is this by your purchasing?
I didn't see that, but I thought it.
I did, because I was working on this. But I will never calculate to see how much it's actually. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Go back up. So yeah.
Back to work.
I'm gonna go see this for you. Oh, so that's the 30.
So where we are? 47? We're actually on 48. But I'm left on 47 because they're going through the exercise on the page.
So if you look at 20,000
yeah.
So the only way we figured out how do we find it is her budget is because of the budget for her budget, so then
That's 12.81. So that's
yeah, she does 25.
So what she's doing is sending a calendar. So take this.
No, send it. Send it.
And that's actually.
Okay, thank you.
You're so.
No,
that's great. I didn't know people would have.
Don't look at that. Just, okay, what we're actual.
So take 270 divided by 2,400. And normally they were expecting to spend something else.
But they would have had 1.5% like for that. So they would
Oh, yeah. I take it, okay.
No, that's.
0.44 is supplies is 0.88.
Yeah, I can.
Supplies are 0.4.
They were under. Oh, so they would wait.
So she's high.
But it's still 0.9 also.
They come in.
0.9.
So she saved herself on her cost of sales. Out of this together.
Oh, so the 40%, so they're. So 108, so they're under.
So this is what I can. Then you get to the right over here.
We are using that. Oh, but
so low sales.
It must have been 40.
No,
that's your,
all you get that.
they didn't be up.
This should be.
So.
Oh, that's.
There's a low on the 33%.
Yes, you should be 40%.
Set up your book with
So Michelle, you guys
Here, let me tell you.
But you weigh that out. You weigh that by
We look at the millimeter.
It was so clear, like.
And then go over the, you know. But I mean, honestly, the 15 is even outside your no, from a very low star. Yeah.
Not the same. Punch it. Well, in our CPA, actually, when you're talking about all of these tasks and things that we should be taking out, we don't. He takes them. So when we get paid for it, He said that's so mine.
Okay, let's wrap it up. So there's no right or wrong answers here, but I'm just curious what you thought of this. Where could she have done better?
Her lead gen. Her salary.
Her automobile insurance.
Yeah. Automobile that insurance was like $5.
Also, and having a other. See down at the bottom, having total other expenses.
$2,500 in other expenses?
What is that? Right.
No idea.
Right.
I hate others.
Yeah.
I mean other. No, I don't hate others. I hate other.
Yes, sir.
Communication and technology was 6 points, or sorry, 2.4% more. So that's high for what MRA says.
What about total automobile?
Yeah. Education and coaching is 4 times what it should be.
She made 90 grand, right?
Yep.
She also underestimated what she was going to make by 5 grand, which isn't much. She really did overdo it on the on the lead gen especially, but maybe she's trying to build something here. That there could be a reason for that, right? So
Just implemented farming
she could have done that. Suck.
Whoa.
Cost of sales was lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cost of sales would kind of save her a little bit for her.
$22,000 lower. Do you see how having those percentages helps you to understand if this is good or bad?
Yeah.
If you didn't have the percentages, just go, oh, she made money. So that's why we always come back to that. So we're going to skip page 52. This is a build a summary P&L based on last month. I'm trying to make sure I get you out of here by 4, so we only have 45 minutes to go through the rest. So I'm gonna go through the understanding your P&L a little more. If I go too fast and you want to know more, just stop me. Okay. So we all know what GCI is. It's what you make for both listing and buyer sales, and as well as referral income. I shouldn't have to explain what commercial income or other real estate income is. The next page is page 54. There's an activity here. If you haven't used, have you got any leads from Kelly? So there's a thing on your mobile app. If you don't have a mobile app, you need to see Crystal about that. And there's also a thing called Kelly. It's not part of the mobile app, but you can put it on your phone as well. It will replace it. Is it?
Kelly's dead.
Okay then. It's already done. It just happened, right?
Sure.
Like
6 months ago.
Why am I teaching this class? Anyway, you can get referrals through other KW agents. You just have to learn how to sign up for it. So cost of sales, any commissions paid out, commission splits paid to the listing or buyer specialists, other costs of sales, royalties paid, commissions to the office. Move on to the next page, page 55 is operating expense, salaries, benefits, lead generation. Page 56, operating expenses portion. That's your education, coaching, occupancy, supplies, office expenses. And it kind of breaks it down into everything that you possibly think of. This would be actually, this whole section would be good to take to your accountant if they didn't understand what you're trying to do. You want to fit everything into these categories. Page 58. Slide 55, Chris. Page 58, operating expense portion. Got charitable contributions, loan interest payment, office transaction fees paid. Be careful on the office transaction fees. Transaction fees are not transaction fees that you're thinking of where you've got a closing and they're going to take it out of your closing. That does not go under other expenses. That goes under cost of sale because you're paying at a closing. Just a slight little, because it could be a lot of money, right? Jessica, how much did you say it was for 40 deals? It was 39 deals.
Oh, I didn't do
It was like 15,000 or something. Yeah. Yeah, transaction coordination is not the same as office transaction.
14,625, 39.
Okay.
That's at 375.
That's at 375, so it's probably more.
Let's do this activity on page 59. We're going to review this a case study for Annie's P&L. You're going to review the P&L in groups, same groups you had before, and then answer the case study questions about Annie's financial health. Where's the questions at? There we go. Page 63 is the questions. I think it's the same lady, same income.
Sorry.
Page 59 is where you're starting.
Questions are on.
Yep, 59 is what you review. 59 is 60, 61, 62.
I know, I'm like,
Oh, no, that's how would you advise?
It's really strong. I didn't try it. Yeah. Much better.
That'll be fine. Operation. Oh, you have to ask. Total, right? 45%.
I just
And it should be at.
Good.
Oh, I just. So, no,
that's what that other page is.
I was thinking of what we were talking about. I think it's
Finally sat it. What's going on?
That even seems.
We see it using that there. Oh, I see. Take care of that boat. Probably drown.
No, I know, yeah.
You let me know what you find out. He could refile.
What's that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So she don't have to salaries. So I said.
You have to. Yes. Because if you go where your numbers are, without counting, you don't take it stuff.
Yeah.
Right, but that'll let out, put your salary, that'll help you see if.
It's not due till 15th. That's why.
I know, let's feel like
You weren't here when I was telling people the way you really make money is you get different buckets and you put them in, put your money in different buckets, and those buckets are things that you try not to touch. And that gives you this, not false, but a sense of I don't have as much as I think. That's why you leave as much as you can in your business. Yeah. I feel like I don't have that much. That keeps you working.
Maybe that's to herself. Yeah. So instead of paying her so much, better do something. So it's only 2,000.
The mirror? I do all the exercises. Yeah, but that's oh, go bigger, they have the whole thing completely spread out. Completely built out. Do they have what is this 65-year-old? Probably. They have stuff specifically for swimming and getting the ski shades, cycling, climbing. Go bigger, go home. It's just gaining that. Okay. Makes it heavier. Yeah, just, do I need electric? That's it. That was the only confusing thing was I done finding out but you have to send a picture of the wall. Picture of the wall, yeah, to make sure there's enough room. They want 7 feet. Well, when you come over on Monday, I'll show you. Just order it. It's 2 months out.
I'm guessing it's.
Quarterly's not, but we were. You guys.
I would say.
Yeah, we'll see.
Year for stuff.
Yeah, entertainment.
I'm trying to get at least one more close, but
Outside.
like 7
What's your next list? Next one, we want to say,
Got about 2 more minutes.
I have a part finally.
Oh, no, they said they will stick to the because that was his like offer that was but my down payment is but yeah. But my down payment
Is everyone out there for scrap, clean up the scrap food? Yeah, yeah.
But the guy was like, and I told him, if you think about the properties that are great in that might be 2 years older, they're way above. He's like, and I say, and the one that sold is like, so, and the guy said, I'm gonna take that other offer, so he can give it that. Also, he knows that it was up to the.
Oh, yeah.
So because I don't want to, I want to mail it. If I have goodwill, but it's not all the other. But he wants to get the money when I
Okay, everybody. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go around and find out what these answers are. So, let's start with you, Dan. How does Annie's cost of sale compare to MREA guidelines, and how would you advise her?
Spend more on the cost of sales, so it's spend 22%, which she could spend 30%.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have a different answer? Yes, good answer, man. And you guys were together, right? Jessica, how's your operating expense compare? How's your operating expense compared to MREA guidelines, and how would you advise her?
She's a little bit high on that, and she could watch some of her test categories a bit. My first thought was that her assistant is probably making as much as she is when she gets taxes and all that. And she might be kind of ahead of the curve on the assistant thing.
Ahead of the curve. I like the way you say that with your assistant right next to you. She's a little ahead of the curve. She's overpaying her.
A part-time assistant?
Yeah.
Make it a part-time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then our advertising and marketing is out there. Yeah.
Good. Anybody else have something different? Okay. Number 3 in the very back. No one's looking up. They're afraid. Do you have an answer for the third one? That's all right. You probably got the right answer then.
What is anything herself? So we're looking at the profit because it's salary. So the business profit is basically their taxes and deducting their expenses.
That is correct. Pretty good for a newbie. So is it possible she could have some of her own salary under salary? I mean, it's not, doesn't say it. I'm just wondering. I've seen it a lot in P&Ls that I've seen.
So, how do you know that you are actually?
It's a really good point.
I put my salary on my P&L, and then when I do my P&L review, I take a pencil and I subtract it and put it back in. And the reason for that is because I intend to replace myself.
Yep.
In that role.
So you're paying yourself a salary that you might pay someone else if they took that position.
Yep.
Great way to do it. Yep. And it's a placeholder for replacing yourself. Okay, what are we on, number 4?
Yes.
Do you have that answer? What if Annie had accounted for her pay as salary? How would this affect her other operating expenses?
I finished. Look, I even took the numbers. I know exactly how much she went over.
Well, we put it that she paid herself 40,000
Because
it didn't really explain it, so that's what we just figured.
You figured she paid herself 40,000.
And actually, it was like
She had gone over, so she was leaving the
and it was just a little bit. It was $2,050 over. No. Like on her month. No, she's 15.
I didn't do the work, so I have no idea what the answer is. But what does everyone else have?
She's already over in the salary categories. Yeah. She's gonna be way over if she has her salary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's paying her admin too much. The throw salary of it.
So what I'm saying, she went over. And she needs to adjust those numbers or increase sales.
So if she would have paid herself a salary, that would severely affect her operating expenses.
Yes.
And you said something about you don't have enough. How did you say that? You're not sure what every month's going to be, so how do you pay yourself a salary? You get to the point where you are sure what you're making every month because you're busy enough to have deals closed every month. And it does get there. It takes time to get there. Once you're there, now you can start paying yourself a salary. It's usually way less than what the actual net income is going to end up being by the end of the year. But at least you have some kind of consistency there. That's how you know. But you're right, it would blow up her operating expenses. Would you advise her to account for her pay as an expense? Why or why not? These are all the same questions if you ask me. I would say, here's my answer to it. I'd say yes, but it would be officer's salary so that we know this is the owner's salary. And we can, because MREA does not account for that in there for whatever you pay yourself. But at least you know what it is. That way you could keep track of it. So number 6, where could Annie watch her expenses more carefully?
Who said that?
What did you say?
Her education, further lead gen and education.
Got it. Number 7, calculate how much Annie is spending on lead gen compared to GCI she's getting as a result. And what's the percentage lead gen to GCI? 12.8. So she's really not that far out of whack, is she? What was the amount? 9.6. Still over quite a ways, but if she's gaining new clients she may not have had, it might be you get to adjust according to how you want to grow your business, right? Some people don't want, for instance, to pay for a lead or a referral because it severely interferes with how much their net is. But if you don't get that lead, how do you sell that person a house down the road? Right? Because that becomes your client after you've sold them a house. Yeah, you might pay a referral fee on that, but now they're your client, and so are all their referrals. So it's a way to build your business. It might have a higher cost of sale, but it's worth it. Okay. We're running out of time, so we got 20 minutes. Personal, hold on. Well, some of this goes without saying on page 64. Annie Youngman said, I've got all the money I need if I die before 4 o'clock this afternoon. 22 minutes.
That's why my husband put life insurance.
Yeah, perfect.
Hurry up, Dennis.
So this talks about your personal budget, business budget. The personal budget, avoid these traps, spending more than you make and spending all that you make. And I could go into a whole seminar on that, but I won't. This next page, 65, is a personal budget worksheet. This is something you can do at home. So I would take that, maybe even just rip it out and do it.
Page 65.
Yeah, 65. And on page 66, I want you to write down at least one way you can reduce your personal spending and then one way you can increase your savings.
What page are we on?
66.
And that's a really good question to probably ask at least once a year. Remember, I dove into it heavily when COVID hit. And we thought, well, we didn't know what was going to happen. I was having fun with it. I found a lot of extra money.
Yeah, on your personal budget.
My personal budget. We actually, between like 15 different agents, we were saving almost $1 million a year. Unnecessary stuff.
Even though you're still paying a lot of money, just don't pay yourself certain amount. That's why I keep saving it. With this surprising.
Okay, let's turn to page 67. I'm just going to touch on this real quick because we're running out of time, but this talks about lead generation, and it goes into advertising, print, direct mail, internet lead gen, entertainment, other lead gen 0. So what I want to touch on this is make the most of your database. That's where your gold mine is. It doesn't cost anything to touch your database. And you can certainly pay for leads, as a lot of agents do. However, think about the value and the low cost of simply building up your business database, connecting with it frequently as prescribed by MREA, and that'll dramatically reduce your lead generation expense. The next, let's see, page 68, 69. 68, 69, 70 for you to build your own annual budget with. And we're not going to spend time on that right now. But I would dog ear those and come back to it. And then there's some basics about caring for your budget. Number one is lead with revenue. Spend only the money the business has generated, that is, spend it after you've made it. Don't think, if I do this, I'll make money. No, make the money first, then spend it. Play red light, green light, that means hold the money accountable for results. Keep your fixed expenses like rent and salaries as low as possible, and then stick to your budget. I'm going to skip over to page 72. This is the same, looks like the other lady was. Skip that. Go to page 73. This is your agent trend report. This is what Keller Williams tracks for you. And it's really valuable once you've been here a year or longer, because then you can see year-over-year results. I'll track these 8 categories: closed units, closed sales volume, listings taken volume, listings sold volume, contracts written volume. And the one thing it won't track is your appointments, unless you're using that tracker that she was talking about. Okay. One activity is to schedule your trend report for each month, so you'd have to schedule a time to look at it. And keep moving, mind your future. Let's go on to page 76. We did this in a couple goal setting retreat. It's called a health check. And it says your financial health is one of the key aspects of successful life. Yet it's meaningless if you have any of your other categories of health are not in great shape. So take a look at these 7 categories. And it says, consider physical health, for example. You identify with any of the following stressors that may affect your physical health. Being on the go all the time with no time to eat, relax, exercise, etc. Eating fast food instead of healthy food. Spending long hours in the car. Dealing with emotions of stressed clients. It sounds like an agent's life. Difficulty balancing family with work. Having to look great at all times. Safety concerns during meetings, open houses, and showings. Concerns about closings and paying bills. Wow. Page 77, if you become incapacitated or disaster strikes, who would keep your business running? Just questions to think about. How long could your family survive with reduced or no income? And what are some solutions? Purchase disability insurance, both short-term and long-term. Train your spouse or licensed assistant to carry your business forward. Save for 6-month reserve. Partner with another agent in your market center. If they get ill, you cover their business and vice versa. Same for vacations. Build for a future now. So on page 78, Oscar Wilde said, when I was young, I used to think that money was the most important thing in life. Now that I'm old, I know it is. Establish a savings plan. These are some ideas. IRAs, self-directed IRAs, pension, SEP IRAs, 401k, MSA, HSA, 529 plan. Does anyone have HSA accounts? Yeah. You don't have to use it for your medical expenses, but you can save a ton of it. Save all those receipts for later down the road and then turn them all in at once so you don't have to be taxed on that money. It's kind of a cool deal. And the advantage is you don't pay tax on the money you put in your HSA. It's like an IRA. Page 79 talks about growing your profit share tree. This is, Chris and I have taught profit share class together as well. But I can tell you that it's real money. It does take time. It's nowhere near a get rich quick scheme. I can tell you that between Pam and I, after 17 years of being here, ours is about 124,000 a year. So it's more than 10,000 a month. It's real, and it comes in every month. Now, some months are lower, some months are higher. Some months are $15,000, $16,000, and other months are 6 or 7. It's really a bummer, but it's totally passive.
So, do you pay taxes on that?
I pay tax on it. It's 1099 money. Yep. Yep. 17 years of.
But it's there forever though.
It's what?
It's there.
Yeah, well, as long as we have a company and as long as the company's profitable.
Yeah.
And it's willable. I'm not bringing that up for anything. I might be morbid.
There's three children. Right?
Yeah, Hannah's good.
There's 3 children.
But who has the grandkids? That's what always happens. Who has the grandkids?
It's like trust fund.
You don't leave it for the children, it's the children.
Yeah, right. You can set up trusts like that where they skip the generation, they go to the next generation, just so you know.
You better be on your piece of keys.
Nothing for you, bro.
Profit share is a lot of people, when you ask what passive income is, they don't get rental property.
Yep, they don't get it.
Is rental property passive income?
Only if someone else is managing it.
Yeah, but even then,
it's
You gotta manage that person who's managing.
That's
it,
right.
because they may not do a good job.
yeah, not to mention, even if the property is paid off, you still have taxes, you still have insurance, HOA dues maybe.
Probably even expenses to go along with it. Roots.
Oh, the maintenance, yeah.
Windows, leaks, raccoon. Passive or profit share, you don't have any.
The goal of an agent would, in my opinion, be the first goal would be, hey man, if I could make enough to pay the company. In other words, you pay 21,000. If I could make 21,000 a year in profit share, I'm basically working for zero.
Yeah.
Which is a really smart way to do it. Then beyond that, just over time, it just grows automatically. So it is a big deal, or can be. But you got to focus on it. It's not like something just happens. You definitely have to be involved with other agents outside the company, divide them to different things, and eventually they end up.
But you also have to nurture those agents that are in a profit share tree.
It's a good idea.
They can potentially leave.
Yeah, that's true. Especially if they're not getting in production. Getting in production is the most important thing to do to help people.
When's the profit share class?
A couple of weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. We'll get another one on.
Yeah, we'll get another one.
3 months. Every quarter.
We can bring another one. If we
Let's see, is there anything else? We are almost out of time. Let's go to page 84. By the way, pages 82 and 83 talk about, and 81, 82 and 83 talk about how to build your business. You know, if you're going to make a lot of sales and you need help to get there, it explains where the levels are when you start adding people. But on page 84, bottom line and take action. Summarize what you've learned from the entire course into action steps and indicate which steps are completed and which ones you'll act on and by when. And when you're done with that, we are done with this class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dennis, what did you say with this? You were done with
No, just, yeah, when you're, last page, 84.
Yes.
I'm gonna add one more thing before you start taking off. The person that learns to implement is the person that makes the most money in this business. Because you can take all the classes you want and nothing ever happens if you don't implement. So the key here, at least for me, is just take one thing, get one thing done, and then get that one thing done, go on to the second thing. But just one thing. Don't try to focus on 15 different things you gotta get done. It's just, you'll never do it.
Where do you get the travel? The what? The travel report is in.
It's on there.
Under reports.
Can we make one more plug for the finance committee?
Yes, you can.
So once a month, we meet the second Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. At the beginning of it, we actually go over an agent's profit and loss statement. It's completely anonymous. We redact all of their information out of it. So it's just the numbers that we go over. Dennis is on it. There's a group of us, and we just kind of go through and look at your multi-year trends, your P&L, balance sheet if you have one, and then we go over the market center numbers. So we would love for people to come. If you want the Zoom link, let us know. We'll put it in the Facebook group. But
I would say if you want to learn more about financials, especially for your own financials, start coming to those meetings, and you will learn a lot. And the ones that have learned the most are the ones that have been around the longest, that have stuck with the, probably were overwhelmed when they first got there, but yet it's starting to all make sense.
I was very scared of my numbers, and I started going in the committee last year, and now I feel like I have a much more control over a better grasp of my business. It's not scary, I promise. It's only one time a month. It's the second Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I will put the link in the Facebook group if people want to come. And it's always by Zoom. Always at Zoom.